Alright, coming up to it.
The road to $10,000 runs through the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. This is round number 2 of the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. We have a lot of storylines to follow since we left Daytona. This field is going to be an exciting one to watch as we go racing this evening at Las Vegas for 167 laps. Tim Terry, Tony Stevens, and Joe Cortez joining me this evening. And gentlemen, we are in for an exciting race. 43 cars qualified. We had 49 attempt to make the show, and the fastest 43 are now getting ready to take the green flag.
They are, Tim, and I think a couple of the big stories are that one of the guys you always expect to be running so good, Brian Blackford, for the second week in a row, he has missed the show in that number 33 car. Certainly there are going to be some heads rolling possibly over in the Blackford camp as to why he has gotten this season off to such a miserable start. And Chad Coleman possibly having some issues right now as he has missed the show, and maybe some issues in his camp as well. In fact, the hot rumor is the Hick and Jick sponsorship might not be very happy with what's going on right now, Joe. So a lot of things already here in race number 2 of the season. And for you Michael Connie and Ray Alfala fans, yes, they made the show, no problem. Alfala, he'll start 9th, and Michael Connie back to his typical ways. He's just outside the top 5 when we roll off tonight, Joe, starting 6th.
The good news, though, for those drivers who didn't make the show, Tony, is the fact that they do get the mulligan, but you don't want to have to take that mulligan this early in the season. It's only the second race of the season. You don't want to have that hovering over you like a dark cloud for the remainder of this very long NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship season, which it is going to be, I've got a feeling, for those drivers who missed one of the shows for the first 2 races of this season. Las Vegas Motor Speedway offers us a completely new opportunity for these drivers. 1.5 miles, 4 turns here in Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Absolutely different from what we've seen in the shootout and the opener last week at Daytona. It's going to be a completely different style of racing and truly a test for these Gen 6 cars and what they're able to do with all these veteran drivers on the field.
And speaking of that, let's go to our Hot Lap segment now, where a couple of our drivers are going to take us for a couple of laps around and give us a couple of keys to this Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
Hey guys, this is Steve Sheehan with episode 2 of Hot Laps this season. Last week we were at Daytona and Adam Gilliland came away with the win in a very good race. It was a blast for everyone, congrats to him. This week we're at Vegas, so we'll see if we can put on a good show with you guys with this new car at our first trip to a cookie cutter. Alright, for our Hot Lap this week, here we go. Off turn 4, we're going to let the car fan out to the outside wall. Now, like I said, you're going to keep it right along that seam, kind of straddle it a little bit. You'll see me work the wheel a little bit off the corner. It's just because my left sides are below the seam and the car wants to yaw out and it's a little bit loose down there. Going into turn 3, I'm not going to take as much of an arc as I will in the race. This is about the line that everybody's going to want to run. I have fresh tires, so it's a little bit easier for me to do that personally. I like a bigger arc through there. Come off turn 4 to the line. Nice .676, and that's a relatively good race lap. You're going to see some guys about a 10 faster tonight, but that might be because they're a little bit too loose. We'll have to see. Turn 1 and 2, the preferred line is actually around the middle to the top of the track. You're going to see 2 seams about 2 car widths and 4 car widths up the track. You're going to want to stay just about straddling that first seam, which is about right in the middle of the track. Your left side tires are going to be a little bit under the seam, and they're actually going to help pull the car to the left to keep it rotating. Your right sides are going to be above the seam where there's a little bit more grip, and that's going to keep your car stable, especially exiting the corner. Now going into turn 3, you're going to see a lot of action tonight because the entry into turn 3 is very long. It's very drawn out. It takes a while to actually get into the corner. A lot of times a pass is done into turn 3 that seems like what you call a traditional dive bomb, but it's just because people like to enter this corner really straight and low enough, and they can still get their car rotating because they can use that white line down there a little bit to help it rotate. They're going to be a little bit slower coming off, but that long drawn out entry into turn 3 really makes for some very interesting passing maneuvers. A lot of guys, I personally like to take a big arc into turn 3. That leaves the inside wide open. Through turn 3 and 4 in the apex, the car is really going to change a lot over the course of the entire run. At the start, it's going to feel very tight. Most of the good cars on the long run is going to progressively get looser and looser and rotate more and more. This is where most time is going to be gained tonight. Keep an eye on the fast cars at the start of the run tonight. If you see a couple guys that are just tenths faster than everyone for the first 5 or 6 laps of a run, it's probably because they have too loose of a setup in, so keep your eyes open for that. You're most likely going to see most of the trouble getting started into turn 1, mainly because people are going to be fighting for that middle line. That means if they're passing someone and they're going low, they're not really going to want to go all the way low. They're still going to want to crowd that guy up a little bit because the difference in grip is very, very big at this track, and there's also some bumps down low. In 2 weeks, we actually go to Phoenix, so we do have a week off next week. Phoenix is a very, very fun track, and as a driver, personally, I love it. I know it's a favorite for a lot of people. I know I said this last season at this track. Hopefully you guys enjoy the race tonight, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right, guys, coming back.
And there's a couple of laps around and a couple of tips to this Las Vegas Motor Speedway from the folks that put together the Hot Lap segment. Brian Blackford, Steve Sheehan, and the rest of the crew always put together a great show. And one thing we should mention as well, Ray Alfala has never got a top 5 finish at Las Vegas Motor Speedway in the last 3 seasons. Something to watch out of your past champions. Looking down at the drivers that did not qualify for this show, we have Landon Harrison. The mark was a 4.26 by Philip Geist, 29.426. Landon Harrison at a 29.433. Ciro Nussbaum, the French connection, barely misses the show this evening. Rob Ackley for the 2nd week in a row does not qualify. Alex Chambrone and Brian Blackford, as we mentioned, and Chad Coleman in the Hickenjicks Ford on the bottom of the list. So those drivers will not make the show. They'll have to sit and watch us here, whether they're watching on iRacing Live, the Motor Racing Network, or PSR TV. And we also want to mention we do have some live look-ins this evening of the drivers that are racing from the comfort of their own homes. Andrew Fayash III, the number 77 car, he's looking for sponsors this season. John Adams in the Mud Jug Portable Spittoons, number 84. And Byron Daly in the ParkerKligerman.com Ford Fusion. We'll be able to look in on those drivers this evening, gentlemen.
Yeah, Tim, we will, and it's going to be a fun night, I think, to see some of those guys doing work here around the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Also, I want to bring you up to date on the point standings for the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. Of course, they pretty much mimicked the finishing order last week at Daytona, with Adam Gilliland atop the point standings of 48 points. Jared Crawford, Landon Huffman, Matt Busa, Brandon Cattell, the top 5. Then comes Tyler Hudson, John Adams, Peter Bennett, Derek Crone, and Chad Coleman. Of course, Coleman will be dropping since he missed the show here tonight at Las Vegas. And one of the cool things, too, about this whole deal, we've got a bunch of guys racing from their homes with their webcams and people watching all over the world. We're also on Twitter. Make sure you hashtag us at iRacingWCS. And, Joe, I know we've been playing with that already. It's amazing the fan feedback we get on Twitter during these races.
The fan feedback on Twitter is one of my favorite parts because you get a lot of guys who are following drivers. You start to see the rivalries bud, and you can see a lot of these different people root for their drivers in real time from the comfort of their own home in the iRacing.com series. But follow us on Twitter at hashtag iRacingWCS. We'll be tweeting all night with all the action here from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It's almost gridding time, my friends.
We are getting ready to go to the grid. Just a reminder as well, wcs.iracing.com. That's wcs.iracing.com is the dedicated microsite to the World Championship Series. Not only the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship, but also the iRacing Grand Prix World Championship Series as well. So go over there and check that out, wcs.iracing.com, as we are getting ready to grid. And guys, we have a long grid here, so we might as well just start it off here. We want to get all 43 drivers in. And looking at the front row, I see a whole lot of sim chassis. Marcus Lindsay going to start on the pole for this evening's race at a 29.256. To the outside, the 29, a guy who really likes this racetrack, guys, Kevin King.
Joey Brown in Last Row Motorsports is going to be starting third. And Patrick Baldwin in the number 52, also from Sim Chassis, he's going to be rolling off fourth.
Row number 3 belongs to the 26 of Chad J. Lawton in the 26 machine. He'll roll off 5th. On the outside of him, the man who missed the show last week, Michael Conti in the 5, rolls off 6th.
Thomas Lewandowski rolls off in position number 7 to the outside. The 96, it's the Twitter car for Rich Doucette.
Defending two-time champion from Drill Owl Motorsports, Ray Alfala rolls 9th. And then it's Steve Sheehan in the number 6, also a Drill Owl teammate.
In row number 6, John Gorlinski on the inside. The number 21 machine on the outside of him, the 69 of Peter Bennett, will start 12th.
13th and 14th is the 01 of Tyler Hudson, the 8 of Sign Wraps, 4 to the outside, 38 Chris Main.
Carson McClellan, car number 24 from Sim Chassis, rolls off in the 15th spot, and then Josh Lawton in the number 40, he'll roll 16th.
Danny Hansen, who raced his way in through the Pro Series, will start on the inside of row number 9 in the 20 machine. On the outside of him, Jared Crawford in the 83 starts 18th.
Dustin Montgomery rolls from 19th, completing your top 20, 75. The Sim Seats ride for Landon Huffman.
Brad Davies in the 11 will roll 21st. That's Brandon Cattell in car number 80 for Last Row Motorsports. He will roll off in the 22nd spot.
As the pace car rolls off, let's continue through your field. Jake Sturgios will start in the number 41 machine in position number 23. Outside of him, Robert Hall in the 30 starts 24th.
The Speedco 91 of Josh Berry rolls off 25th to the outside, 97. The Popsicle car for Carson Downs.
The Fast Track Sims machine of Michael Johnson is 27th, and Brandon Schmidt in the 3 is 28th.
The Virtual Performance Race machine of Adam Gilliland will start in the inside of row 15. Outside of him, the 27 of Cody Bias.
Derek Crone rolls off 31st, and deep in this field, the O'Bunnell Revolution, number 55 of Brian Schoenberg.
Matt Boos's number 34, sponsored by Micron Power Delivery, rolls off 33rd, and it's John Adams in the Spittoon machine, starting 34th.
In 35th will be the 60 of Jason Karlavich. Outside of him, the 82 of Alex Warren starts 36th.
Paul Kashiba and Nick Ottinger deep in the field, 37th, 38th.
Casey Malone rolls 39th, and the PK car, Parker Kligerman's ride with driver Byron Daly, rolls 40th.
Row number 21 belongs to 77 of Andrew Fayash, and third. On the outside of him, Matt Witten starts 18th, and then the very last driver to take this field will be the 66 of Philip Geist, starting all the way in the back at 43rd, Tim.
And he's from Germany, and Matt Witten does have a one-lap penalty. He said something naughty, and he will have to serve a one-lap penalty. He will not be able to get back via the free pass in the first couple of laps of this race. The first racing Ford Mustang pace car going to head to the infield here. Marcus Lindsay and Kevin King in command of the field. Race number 2 from Las Vegas is green, and Marcus Lindsay on the hammer. Joey Brown down to the inside of Kevin King as he looks at position number 2.
King up top. That's not necessarily the preferred line when you're getting up to speed, as we're going to find out. Here goes Brown, tries to pull the slide job, can't do it. King able to get that momentum up top, and now looking 3 wide as they work into turn number 3. That's the 26 of Lawton on the bottom. He'll get underneath the Baldwin and maybe even make Joey Brown lose that 3rd spot as they work off a 4.
I'm watching Chad Lawton, though, almost lost it in turns 3 and 4, decided to almost got sideways, going through the turns, able to save it. He's still stuck on the low line. Good news is he's battling Brown on the 12 machine, low and high, but he's not going to be able to battle it for much longer. He loses position and will ultimately fall to 4th.
We're seeing that preferred groove come into line, about a groove up off the bottom line. Chad Lawton on the bottom feeder there. The 5 of Michael Conti trying to follow him as well. On the 52 of Pat Baldwin, little loose for the 26 of Chad Lawton as he works on the 12. The Gary Mercer Trucking, number 26, picks up the spot on the 52 as you look back to the main performance PC, number 5 of Mike Conti.
Conti proving that last week was a fluke at this stage, Tim, as he tries to work his way inside the top 5, looking underneath the Verve machine of Pat Baldwin down the back straightaway, and Conti still there trying to put main performance PC back up in the top 5 where they've been so used to being. His mulligans are over, his flukes are out of the way. He can afford no more over the course of 2013, and Joe, that's not a place you want to be in, because look in your rearview mirror, here's the guy you fought all last season, Ray Alfala, peeking into the picture here already in the early goal.
16 going around. That's number 16 machine going around along to Thomas Lewandowski. Yellow flag will come out, relief for the first time tonight. Lewandowski not able to hold on to that high side out there, and he is going to be the man who causes the first yellow flag to come out on lap 4 of tonight's race. 167 total. Lap 4 will bring out the first yellow flag of the night.
And what we call there a little bit of net code. You don't really see it in the replay as our producers Ian Bushing and Matt Thomas queuing that up. You don't see a whole lot of contact there, Tony, and the 16 car does go around. It's the prediction code. If you're new to iRacing, you're sitting at a computer and you're connected to a server. The server has to predict where you are, what movements you're going to make on the racetrack. The server predicted that the 16 and the 6 were there. Car on the inside makes a little contact, and the 16 goes around, albeit we don't see that contact on our screen. So it's a tough break for Thomas Lewandowski, as Lewandowski will have to come down pit road. There's a whole lot of damage to the rear end of that drill aisle number 16.
Yeah, there really is, Tim. It's a tough break, and like you said, it's just a prediction deal. It's no different than just something happening with a car where you have a part failure. That's basically the same type of thing that's going to happen. It's just part of racing. Whenever you have a physical car you're running, things break. Whenever you're racing in a virtual environment, guess what? Sometimes you're going to have communication discrepancies, and that's what happened to Thomas Lewandowski. It's just part of the environment, part of the sport of sim racing, and also it looks like the number 69 machine going to be coming down pit road as well for some issues with his connection too. So a couple of guys with some connection issues so far here tonight, Joe. And I know there were some storms and things around the United States last night and even in some cases today. And, the way computers are, sometimes one server gets shut down and next thing you know, your connection is having to go routed. Instead of 100 miles to the server, it has to go round about the whole continent just because of the way computers are routed. Again, it's just one of those deals. If it's a product of the environment, but it's one of those things you have to learn to deal with.
But a lot of these guys coming down pit road or looks like they're trying to get a little pit strategy in early. I saw guys like Tyler Hudson, Nick Ottinger, Cody Bonies, and Brian Schoenberg all coming down the attention of their crew to get tires early on these cars, a little bit of gas, and then there's Lewandowski in the 16 machine who's got a lot of damage and repair on the back end of that number 16 machine. So it looks like, yeah, you're absolutely right there. There is some connection issues here that we need to consider. But a lot of these guys, it looks like they're starting to play the game, the pit strategy game early in tonight's race, trying to figure out what they need to do to keep their cars running forward, to keep them moving fast up front, and ultimately take away tonight's race.
I know we have a couple of the drivers that did not make the show here we're going to talk to in these next couple of cautions. First, we're going to grab Chad Coleman, and I want to talk to you, Chad, because you finished top 5 here at Las Vegas last season. It's a bummer you didn't make the show. What happened on your qualifying lap?
I messed up. I got tight in 1 and 2, and it wasn't all that bad. Lap still wasn't that bad, and I slid off of 3 and 4 and lost even more time. And I just plain and simple, I just messed up. We had a decent setup. We all blew it in qualifying.
And looking at this Las Vegas Motor Speedway and this brand new Gen 6 car, how does it run here compared to previous builds and previous race cars that we've had on Las Vegas?
The car is actually fun to drive. Turns good, sometimes too good. I think the race is going to be pretty good. Just iRacing and their netcode deals is pretty bad, but I mean that's just part of the deal, I guess, with online racing.
Now, looking at this Las Vegas Motor Speedway, you were up in the top 5 at the end of the race last year. What do we expect here? Do we expect a fuel mileage race? Do we expect a lot of green flag racing and maybe a surprise in victory lane?
Vegas is known for surprises. I mean, if you look back with Sandeep winning, and then last season you had Jake Sturgis win. I mean, Vegas can lead to some crazy stuff with, just pit strategy and stuff getting caught up and, random cautions at times. So you can look at anything, I mean. But, yeah, I think it's going to stretch out. Probably get a long run in here. It'll be a pretty good race.
2 weeks we head to Phoenix. What do you got for the boys there?
Hopefully more qualifying speed than what we had this week.
And I'm sure we'll see that car up in the top 5 as you continue to plug away at the setup. I know you got a couple of new sponsors on the race car this season, and of course you're one of the drivers running a Ford. Who makes it happen for Chad Coleman each week?
Yeah, I got to thank, first off, I got to thank Tanner for painting me a car, Tanner Stoops. Got to thank HickandJicks.com. You guys go and visit. We got a little bit of everything. And got to thank Tim's Corner and Trading Paints.
And that's Chad Coleman, and I know you're going to be digging it, Phoenix. We wish you all the best there.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
And we're going to grab Brian Blackford on the next caution flag as we are doubled up and getting ready to go back to green. The first racing Ford Mustang pace car has the lights extinguished, and it's Marcus Lindsay and Kevin King once again on the front row. Kevin King likes this racetrack. Marcus Lindsay looking for his first win in the series. Guys, could it come this evening?
I think it really could, Tim. I mean, Lindsay has shown some speed, but we are early still. You have to remember that. I mean, we're only 8 laps into a 167-lap race, and you cannot win one of these things this early in the race, but you certainly can lose one. I think the biggest thing you need to look at is fall-off over the course of the run. I mean, yeah, he's still up front, but it is early. And that car didn't necessarily have the fastest speed warm-up, but that could be a good thing, Joe, because that might mean that car is more consistent over the long run and doesn't just peak and suddenly fall off.
And when you're setting up for a race like this, you have to set up for the long run. You have to assume you're going to have the long green flag runs that are going to ultimately win this race. Pace car is off. Marcus Lindsay and Kevin King lead this field back to the green flag. We're racing on lap 8.
Lindsay on the hammer. King is going to take second. It's going to be side by side for third. Joey Brown trying to take it away from Chad Lawton. Little bit of a bobble for Lawton on the outside line. 52 of Baldwin now looking for a spot as Kevin King is there as well. Guys, they're fighting for that second groove, the preferred groove around this racetrack. Ray Alfala to the inside. Could we see 3 wide? Oh, we got to wreck it back. John Gorlinski involved.
Gorlinski is in it, as are others, and they are still crashing. Adam Gilliland catches a piece of it as well, as Gilliland, last week's winner at Daytona and your point leader, started way back there in the middle of all the chaos, and it started right there in the back straightaway. It looked just like Gorlinski got a little loose coming off of turn number 2, and Adam Gilliland just got into him and then got pile-driven by about 2 or 3 other cars. Surprisingly, Joe, the damage relatively minor on all those cars, but it might be just enough to throw their nights askew.
The 07 of Crone having heavy damage, ripping off the entire front end of his machine. The 21 machine also getting involved, and it looks like the 18 of Adam Gilliland also getting through that incident, but with how much damage is the big question. We'll have to see what he does when he comes down to pit road, when the pit road opens. This really could change complexion for the guys who were leading the race early in this race. But for those guys who have the longer setup, who have the gears set up a little bit wider than than others, this could very much throw a wrench in their strategy early in a nice race.
So tough break for those drivers. They will have to rebound. And as we mentioned before, the 18 of Matt Whitten did serve that 1-lap penalty. He is 1 lap down, and guys, keep in mind, he cannot get that back via the lucky dog, or the iDog as we call it here on iRacing, because it is an admin issued or race control issued penalty. I know Brian Blackford is sitting down there on the waiting room here, so we'll see if we can't grab a couple of words with Brian Blackford, driver of the number 33, as another tough week, second week in a row, he does not qualify for the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. Brian, what happened on your qualifying lap?
It actually didn't go horribly. I noticed I was quite a bit tighter than I was in my practice laps, but yeah, I could run a 38, and that was my best in practice, which would have easily got me in the race, but ended up running a 47, which was pretty disappointing, but I'll definitely keep working on these setups and try to make the rest of the races.
I know a lot of work goes into these setups, and we look at the qualifying times. You look all the way back from your pole sitter at a 2.56. You turn that 4.79 and just barely missed the show. You were 5th in line of those guys that did not make the show. How much work goes into these race cars each week for somebody that might be watching on the Motor Racing Network or iRacing Live that's just seeing this for the first time? How much work goes into these setups and into these race cars each week to just barely miss that show?
Quite a bit of work goes into these. Quite frankly, I haven't been helping my team out, so I don't want to be a leech and ask them for setups left and right when I'm not really contributing. So I've been quite busy at the Science Center of Pinellas County recently. We actually just got 3 iRacing simulators installed and donated by Intel iRacing obviously, and Logitech and Playseat. So I've been trying to put these together, and I'm actually racing from the Science Center tonight. So it's cool, but I would have liked to actually race here, definitely. But yeah, we're actually starting a new spring break camp, where kids can come and learn about speed, aerodynamics, and physics, and how STEM education relates to motorsport in general. So we're developing a really cool curriculum for kids to come and try iRacing and play on some cool computers. So I've been quite busy.
And a pretty cool way to get them involved as well, not only in iRacing, but seeing the physics of the motorsport area. And one thing I know you're involved in as well is iRacing TV, and of course the hot lap segments. For those that don't know, they see hear a couple of voices on the screen for those hot lap segments that we play each week, but it's you that's behind the scenes pushing all the buttons, getting all the video ready, isn't it?
Yeah, that's just me. It'd be nice if I could get some help, especially that last week. I had to pretty much throw it together at the last second because we only had 1 week in between the races, so it was kind of tough. But we definitely got it done in time, and Steve is doing an awesome job with that. So I got to thank him, and I couldn't do it without him. I'm really hoping he does well in these races from now on. He had a tough one at Daytona, so.
And he's sitting back there in position number 8. Lights are out in the pace car. Before we let you go, Brian, who makes it happen for you each week? And we're getting in the show in Phoenix, right?
Oh, I will definitely make the show at Phoenix. It's just going to be a matter of time before enough people quit, and I'm one of the few left standing. And it happens every season. Everybody quits, and then eventually I'll start making races just because of that reason alone. But I just got to thank John Prather for tuning in tonight. Glad he could tune in, and Theo Olson actually just wanted me to give him a shout out as well. So thanks to those guys for watching, and thanks to my team for continuing to hand me setups when I probably don't deserve them.
That's Brian Blackford, number 33. We wish you all the best, and we'll see you in Phoenix.
All right, thank you.
And we are getting ready for our second restart of the evening. 2 cautions quickly in this race at Las Vegas. Lap 13 will be completed this time, of 167 to be put on the board. The first racing Ford Mustang pace car. We'll head to the infield here, and Marcus Lindsay once again in command of the field. The Obuto Gaming Cockpit's main performance PC, number 1, getting ready to throw the hammer down again. And what another great restart for the one of Marcus Lindsay. He is gone. Green flag flies. We're side by side for third, guys.
Lindsay gets away, but yes, it's Kevin King trying to hold off the challenges of Lawton and Conti as they work through turns 1 and 2, building speed. King does get away, but now Conti moves to the high side. He'll get around Lawton, it looks like, down the back straight. Here goes Alfala. He'll cut to the bottom again, and Joe, that's been his favorite place to pass tonight, setting everybody up, getting out of 2, down the back straightaway into turn number 3, and he is not scared to drive that Pro Geek Ford right in there and stick his nose where maybe few others would dare to tread.
Green flag for lap 14. We continue on lap 15. Lindsay up front. Kevin King second. Michael Conti third, but not for him home a lot longer as Ray Alfala, your series championship last year, might want to make it happen. No, he's going to go 3 wide, and look who's underneath him. That was Chad Lawton trying to get the jump on him, and he might have it as he's going to go low, and he's got a lot of cars behind him that want to help him get around that number 2 of Ray Alfala. Low side seems to be the preferred groove as everybody starts to get settled in for a long green flag run.
Baldwin slapped the wall in the 52 back there as he's going to lose 1 spot at least. Here comes Sheehan, and here comes the 20 car of Danny Hansen. First time we've really said that name all season long. Danny Hansen from J Show Motorsports. We have a battle for the lead once again. Here comes King. King looking on Lindsay to the inside line. 29 looking to pick it up on the 1. Side by side at a corner number 4. Kevin King on the inside in the Razor Chevrolet. Not going to do it this lap, but he put up a great run there.
That he did, but Lindsay used the momentum to his advantage, and that helps him in turn number 1 because that middle to high lane is the preferred groove here in Las Vegas to get over the bumps in turn 1. They've really gotten pretty severe, and really all the grip, Joe, is up there in that middle section of the racetrack. But turns 3 and 4, as you see, it's a completely different story. Right against the white line, as now King again tries to get the run off the banking, down the front straightaway on Marcus Lindsay. Can't get it done. That gap's about a half a car length, but you know Kevin King is probably already inside the head of Marcus Lindsay because he was inside of him. That means maybe, if all circumstances go right, he could get by him.
He very well could get by him. Kevin King is a veteran driver in sim racing, and you see him now trying to go low. He's going to try to make the pass, bring the money phone, the 29. Not going to happen. Again, trouble on the track.
Michael Johnson around in the back, and I believe we might have had somebody else back there, Tony, as the pace car is now out. 75 of Landon Huffman around. Caution flag will fly. The 83 is involved, as is Josh Berry in the 91.
Yeah, it all started with the 05 of Nick Ottinger and the 75 of Huffman, as well as 91 of Josh Berry. Ottinger tried to maybe stick his nose in there where it didn't belong, got into the 75 machine, and poor Landon Huffman just got hooked right into Josh Berry. And then it was on from there. Those two getting the brunt of the impact. The 83 machine also catching a piece of it with Jared Crawford. And I'll tell you one thing, Joe. The back of the field, or really the middle of the field, that's where that happened at, has literally been a hornet's nest tonight.
In every sense of the word, has been a hornet's nest. You usually see trouble in the middle of the field, and tonight you are definitely seeing it here. These guys looks like they're having troubles, not necessarily running in traffic, but being patient with each other and being able to run within that pack back there. Jared Crawford is smoking now, having trouble. Might have some trouble with that machine. It could be done as all your leaders decide to come down pit road on lap 19.
Third caution of the evening. Great time for these guys to head down pit road. Ray Alfalo, one of the first to hit his pit box as he comes into the service of his crew. Marcus Lindsay going to hit his marks at the end of pit road. The Oboto Gaming Cockpits, number 1, going to go with 2 right side tires. Do they take 4 on this first stop? Lindsay and King are both taking 4. Alfalo wins the race off. Conti and Sheehan in a position at number 3. Brad Davies must have took 2 as well because he's going to drag race Lindsay off pit road. And Tony, keep in mind, Brad Davies won this race 2 seasons ago in a race that we went green until that first pit stop.
And, you know, maybe Davies knows a little something. But the thing is, all that track experience is great, Tim, but you've got a brand new car here. You're not 100% sure how this thing is going to react. And like we talked last week, Joe, they've had practice. They've had mock races, but nobody, I don't think, has really shown their hand. And maybe looking at Alfala, Connie, and Sheehan, as well as Brad Davies, this might be the first chance for everybody really to see, hey, what does 2 tires do for me? What does no tires do for me? I mean, Chris Mayne and Robert Hall have stayed out. They might stay out the rest of this caution period and try to gain that track position that way. We really don't know yet, and that might be fun to see here in the early stages, just how this tire strategy plays out, because it might be something we need to know for later in the race, Joe.
And if I remember correctly from a moment ago, Chris Mayne, I believe, was one of the drivers that came down under the first yellow flag of the evening. So pit strategy, I think, might be the... Check that, Chris Mayne has not yet pitted. I thought he came down earlier, but I could be mistaken. Pit strategy is going to be the name of the game tonight. I've got a feeling that tonight's race will be won and lost on pit road. And if you're able to mitigate your tire damage, your fuel mileage as best as you can out here, that's going to give you the biggest advantage in running tonight's race.
So your top 2 have not come down under this caution. As we mentioned, Chris Mayne is not pitted in this race as of yet. Robert Hall pitted under one of our previous caution. So Hall in second. Chris Mayne, your leader, and we talk about a guy like Chris Mayne, Tony, and we've been involved in this since pretty much the dawn of day. Chris Mayne has been as well. You look back to NASCAR Racing 2003 season, one of the guys that used to run up front in the DMP series. Very competitive driver, and one of the drivers that's been here for the long haul, as he looks like lead this race back to green when we do go green. Alex Ward will receive the I-Dog on this caution, so your former Pro Series champion will get 1 lap back. And I do see Jarrett Crawford up in the waiting hall here, so we might very well have Jarrett Crawford on the horn as well before we go back to green.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get a word from him. But about Chris Mayne, like you said, Tim, yeah, he's been around for a while, and for the longest time, he was just Mike Main's little brother. That's who he was. And then very, very quickly, Chris Main developed an identity all of his own, and now here he is, the probably the better racer in the family, leading the iRacing.com Series World Championship at Las Vegas, Joe.
So lights remain on, or no, check that, lights are going to go off this time around, so we're going to go back to Green Flag Racing on lap 23 of 167, and what strikes me right at this point, what really occurs to me is we've had 3 yellow flags. I think these guys are hopefully getting the yips out of these new Gen 6 cars at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It's the first time they've run it in a practice this big here at Las Vegas. So hopefully they're running the yips out of these cars. They're a little bit more comfortable, and they can start getting ready to start running that longer green flag run.
We do have Jared Crawford on the horn, but we'll wait until the next caution flag before we talk to driver 83, the JDR Graphic Chevrolet, after being involved in that most recent yellow flag. Chris Main, Robert Hall, top 2. Robert Hall, no stranger to victory lane and running up front in this series. Ray Alfala and Mike Conti, your top 2 from last season, run 3rd and 4th, and Steve Sheehan runs in position number 5. Marcus Lindsay, Brad Davies, Kevin King, Chad Lawton, and Joey Brown, your top 10. Last year's winner of this race, Jake Sturgis, won this race on fuel mileage in position at number 15 right now of the 43 drivers that started this race. The First Racing Ford Mustang pace car is getting ready to head to the infield. We will complete 22 laps of the stripe, and Chris Main is in control of the field, looking for a sponsor on that race car this season. If you're looking to put some money towards iRacing, look at that 38 car as he gets going here. Green flag flies, and we are back underway.
And Main gets one heck of a jump, Tim. He gets out ahead of about 3 car lengths overall, Fala and Hall. And again, this is going to be the fun time to see. Yep, no tires might not work. 2 tires, much better than no tires. We'll put that in our middle checklist here, Joe, as Alfala just storms by Chris Main. Connie looking to do the same thing. And here comes Lindsay in the Abutter Gaming Cockpits machine. Maybe 4 tires is better than 2. He's already gotten by Sheehan and Connie. So maybe, as we would suspect, 4 is greater than 2 is greater than 0.
Indeed it is. Ray Alfala leads that lap. He will pick up a bonus point for leading 1 lap as he rides inside number 5. Michael Conti now currently running in 5th. And right now he's in that chili dog position. He's got the 30 above him, the 29 below him. He needs some help out there if he's going to continue to try to run that preferred groove. 3 wide again around the 12 machine. Earlier I said these guys worked out the yips. I don't think they've done that quite yet, as the 5's got a handful of car behind him.
I keep a half eye on this battle back here, guys. 6 and 26 as they go side by side. You look back from Mike Conti back to what is the Hornet's Nest right now, as the 26 and 30 are side by side. Lawton trying to pick up that spot. It's single file for your top 5 now. Lawton gets up into 6th, and everybody else behind trying to chase their tails. Steve Sheehan in the 6th, falling back 2 spots. Here comes Joey Brown on the inside, and here comes the 52 as well, trying to come up in front. That's Pat Ball.
Hey, Joe, for that matter, Tim, how much do you want to bet Michael Conti's regretting taking 2 tires right now?
Michael Conti's probably regretting it just a little bit as he starts to fall back through the field. You know, he's not getting a whole lot of help on that low line, and with those 2 tires on his car, he just doesn't have the grip he needs to get up front. The 38 now pulling in front of him, trying to help him. The 29 is going to push the 38 around the 5 of Conti. Conti now getting a little bit of help behind him in the form of Chad Lawton, trying to give him the push. They go 2 by 2 now into turn number 1, but 2 tires does not seem to be the magic link around here unless you're Ray Alfala, and with Alfala, I think garage support and setup has a lot more to do with his run than tires.
But I think if you're going to try it, guys, this is the time to try it. With 140 some laps to go, it's better to try it now than to try it maybe halfway through this race, as these guys are getting at it. Chris Main on the outside line falling back. 29 of Kevin King, the 30 of Robert Hall there as well, as Ray Alfala, Marcus Lindsay continue to lead this race, and Tony, they are pulling away about a second now between 2nd and 3rd.
Hold on, Tim. Let me get my heart out of my throat there for a second. Robert Hall just got it up there, and I think I'm about 1 of 30 that has the same feeling right now. That car plumbed sideways in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Somehow he held onto that thing, Joe. I don't know how, but great piece of driving by Robert Hall, and I think he too one of those drivers that might be regretting that pit strategy right now, as everybody is stacking up behind the drivers who either took 2 tires or did not pit in particular, such as Chris Main and Robert Hall. But, you know, for as bad as those cars might be off, they're still holding their own pretty good.
Switching the lead right now as Alfala gives the lead to Marcus Lindsay. These guys trying to do the 2-car tango in this Gen 6 car, something we have not seen done yet, only because we haven't had the opportunity. So now we've got another new thing we're trying out here to see if the 2-car tango can actually work out front. So far, working very well for Lindsay and Alfala, as they've got almost a second on the Michael Conti and the rest of the field. Battle now is for the 6th position as Steve Sheehan in the 6th, getting around the 852 of Patrick Baldwin for that 7th place position, and they continue to battle behind him.
The 52 looking here as well, as you see that number 11, the 38 of Chris Main nearly bought the farm, coming off of corner number 4 in front of Danny Hansen and Brad Davies. As here comes the 20 on the 38. All these guys fighting a little bit of loose conditions, especially we're looking at that 38 and 30 that didn't come in under that last caution. Jake Sturgis thinking about making it 3 wide off corner number 2, as these guys are trying to pick their passes, and we almost saw a 3 wide between Rich Doucette, and Josh Lawton.
Yeah, they're getting back here and getting really antsy, Joe. And I think, or Tim for that matter. Tim, I don't know why I keep wanting to call you Joe, but I do. But, you know, it's one of those deals of, you know you have a very fast race car. You know that you can lead this race like Marcus Lindsay and Ray Alfala, who are up front, Michael Conti, Kevin King, and Chad Lawton. You know you can be up there. But, Joe, this field is so close that you understand you've got to do something to get up front. It's not just going to come to you. And I think that frustration is starting to get to some of these guys right now, and maybe that's why they're starting to make some of these moves, even this early in the race, only 20% of the way in, 32 laps on the board, where they're trying these gigantic runs and bonsai moves just to try to get one spot.
Well, not only that, but these guys are now starting to try to figure out what this Gen 6 car can do. Remember, this is a brand new car on a track they've never had a chance to run it on out here. So this is a whole new experience for these guys. They're trying to figure out everything as they go along. Lindsay now has a 3-second advantage over Alfala, is in second, and now there's a battle for third as Michael Conti under fire from Kevin King. At the line, Kevin King will get the position now into the turns. And Michael Conti forced to drop back. He will drop back to 4th. Kevin King, good start, a new revolution. That is to say, if Chad Lawton doesn't have something to say about it.
Lawton now underneath. Here comes the 12 as well, and Joey Brown, as Brown tries to take a top 5 run here. What a run so far, though, for the 12 with Joey Brown, as you look back from the 26 back to the rest of this field. And Tony, it's the one thing that I'm looking at here this evening. Daytona, we had top 5 All-Pro Series drivers. Daytona is really a wild card. When you look at it, we come to Las Vegas, it's a little bit of a different animal. And we look at those pro guys to see really what they can do to stack up against these World Championship Series drivers that have been here for a couple of seasons. We knew Chad Lawton was going to be good. He won the Pro Series Championship. But I can be honest with you, I really didn't have Joey Brown circled on my list.
No, I really didn't either. I mean, and that's not to discount Joey Brown, the Kingwood, Texas driver, but it's just one of those deals of you may have 1 or 2 guys that are going to do well first few races out here in the iRacing.com Series World Championship, and pleasantly surprised, like you said, by Joey Brown up here inside the top 5, doing a great job on that unique signs and designs machine. And I think, Joe, Tim talked about Daytona being a wild card, and I think it was more of a wild card because nobody knew what to expect with this car and adding it to that racetrack. So it was a whole new mix of things everybody was trying to figure out. And if there's ever a season that you want to be a rookie in this series, I think this is it, because you have this brand new Gen 6 car that's completely different from anything we've ever driven, and really everybody is a rookie. Everybody's learning this car all by themselves and all over again. So you have a little bit of an advantage if you're a newcomer, because you don't really know anything that doesn't work or used to work that may not work on these cars. You're taking a fresh slate and a fresh notebook to these cars.
You're right in the car now with it, number 6 of Steve Sheehan. That's an unsponsored Chevy SS. As you go down through turns 1 and 2 and into the backstretch, I think you said it right there, Tony. I'm going to wholeheartedly agree with you. This is the season you want to be a rookie in, and I'll tell you why. You're absolutely right. This is a brand new car. This is a season where everybody is a rookie. And this is also a season where you can possibly see a new champion, somebody who raced their way through the Pro Series, because, as we talked with some of the Pro Series drivers last week, these guys have been racing all winter. These guys have been working their way through all winter and getting used to the cars, while the last season's district drivers didn't necessarily have to do that. So these guys are the ones that have been working hard all winter, that have been working real hard to make it work. And if we have a new champion, it might be from that Pro Series, because they have that little extra experience going into this year's season.
6 and 52 side by side of position number 7, and to add to that, Joe, these guys got this brand new race car about a month ago. This is why the season was delayed, because they wanted to premiere this brand new Gen 6 race car. So everybody got it at the same time. That really throws a monkey wrench into it too. The pro guys raced with the Gen 5 car. They didn't race with the Gen 6 car in their series. So that brings in another aspect as well, as the 52 and 6 continue to be side by side. And look at the shootout winner there, the 01, a Tyler Hudson in the Ford, looking to make something happen here at 7.
Yeah, and a good run for Tyler Hudson. I think, like we talked about last week, he showed a lot of strength at Daytona. This could be a breakout season for the driver out of Mississippi, driving that Ada Sign Wraps Ford. He's shown a lot of promise, I think, Joe, in the past few seasons. Just has yet to really go to victory lane in a points-paying race. And tonight he's already proven he can pass race cars. He started outside the top 10, back in 13th. Here he is knocking on the door to try to work his way up to 7th if he can get by Sheehan and Patrick Baldwin. And I think maybe for all that group at Wheelman Incorporated, this could be a banner year for them, as here goes Hudson on the bottom underneath Steve Sheehan. But Sheehan has that preferred line, Joe, the top side in turns 1 and 2, and he is working it good as they come up on Byron Daly, and they'll split the difference and push him to the outside. Daly struggling after damage from an earlier accident, but tough break for the ParkerKlickerman.com machine as they will continue on. And that'll kind of get this group single file with Danny Hansen and Brad Davies also in tow now.
We talked earlier, Tony, about these guys setting up a long green flag run. I don't think anybody's done it quite as well as Marcus Lindsay in that number 1 machine. Right now he has almost a second over Ray Alfala in the Pro Geek Ford, running in second all by himself. And then there's the rest of the field. Kevin King in 3rd, Lawton 4th. Joey Brown works his way back up to 5th. Conti in 6th. Baldwin, Sheehan, Hudson, and Danny Hansen rounding out your top 10 right now. The green flag run is happening. Everybody's now getting comfortable, getting in these cars, and just turning laps right now. This is exactly what these guys want to see. What happens during the long green flag run? The next event that's going to shake it up is either 1, another yellow flag, or number 2, the green flag pit stop, which could happen very quickly. Let's ride along the back bumper of the 20 machine. That's Danny Hansen.
And you look back at Brad Davies and the number 11 former winner of this race. And guys, keep in mind that last season's event, we talked about it with Chad Coleman, had a lot of green flag running in the middle to late stages of the race. We had about 25 laps at the end where there was a couple of caution flags, and Jake Sturgis ended up winning that race on essentially fuel mileage and pit mileage. As you look at car number 12 of Joey Brown as he looks on Chad Lawton for position number 4. So there's a couple of drivers here in this race that could very well benefit from going a long green flag run and having a little bit of fuel mileage. As you look at Joey Brown's roof cam on the way up to Chad Lawton, Kevin King, and then way up in front, about 2 seconds ahead of the 12, is Marcus Lindsay and Ray Alfala.
Yeah, and Lindsay, I think I don't want to say we were doubting, but we were discussing his ability here earlier in this broadcast, Joe, and I think maybe he's starting to prove that he might have what it takes to be a winner. He might even be a winner later tonight. I mean, there's still a long way to go here, about 120 laps or so, but I think maybe Lindsay might be the car to beat at this stage of the race. As we were watching on board with Joey Brown a minute ago, behind him, here comes Patrick Baldwin underneath Michael Conti and Steve Sheehan. Those 2 tires seem to have evened out for the time being, Joe, so maybe if you can afford to lose 5 or 6 spots, as, one car way down on the apron, down on the backside, that's Richard Doucette. He'll hold on to it and will stay green. But, Joe, I think maybe if you can hold on to that car for 5 or 10 laps and not lose as much track position as some of the others, 2 tires might be a very viable option. I don't think it's going to win you the race, but if you're running 30th with 25 laps to go, it might be a pretty viable strategy to get a top 10 finish.
Yeah, I would agree, and I doubted a little bit earlier. We both doubted a little bit earlier, but as these guys settle in for the long green flag run, as these guys settle in out here, these guys are able to really make these cars work. You watch now the number 96, and yeah, Vince said earlier, we remain green flag racing in the picture-in-picture right now. Doucette currently running 20th. That car a little bit banged up, but no worse for wear. He continues to run. He in line now behind the 69 of Peter Bennett, and with the guy who was involved in the first yellow flag of the evening, the 16 of Thomas Lewandowski.
And you look at that number 96 of Rich Doucette, Joe, and as you mentioned, that's the Facebook JDR Graphics car. And I want to touch on one driver here. See if we can't get a camera on the 41 for a second to Jake Sturgis. He just made the move on Carson Downs at position number 16. He was your winner last season in the NX number 41, as he's got the 38 of Chris Main. We mentioned Chris Main leading us to the last restart. He is going to go back outside the top 16 or top 15 here, possibly, as the 41 is looking at that 38 for the spot.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing, it's starting to really affect those guys back there as you look at Sturgis and Maine and everybody back there, Tim. I think maybe Chris Maine, I don't think he's regretting that decision yet, because he was way back deep in the field. I mean, he started back, where'd he start? I'm looking through the grid. I mean, he was back towards the tail of this field whenever we threw the green flag. So I think maybe it wasn't a bad decision for Chris Maine to try to get that track position, but I think maybe it really ended up being a zero-sum game for him. Because, yeah, there he is, finally back. Started back in 14th, Joe. So here he is now being shown in 16th. If it was a short run, maybe he'll do that again in the future. But, again, I don't see him doing that anytime soon. But, hey, it was worth the gamble.
Worth the gamble, but someone who needs to start gambling, I think, a little bit is the number 5, Michael Connie. He was running in the top 5, now relegated to 13th right now. In the last lap alone, Connie lost 2 positions, 5 total right now, and so he's got to figure out what he needs to do with that car to make it work. Don't be surprised when he comes down for his pit stop to see a couple adjustments on that car to make it work. Battle brewing for second right now is Ray Alfala under fire from Kevin King in the number 25 machine. Both of them chasing Marcus Lindsay in the 1 machine, almost 1.5 seconds ahead of both your leader, second and third.
And 29 makes it look easy. The Razor Chevrolet of Kevin King goes to position number 2. Ray Alfala back to position number 3. Ray was one of those drivers that did take 2 tires. On the last caution flag, Kevin King did take 4. And then you look right behind them. Here comes your Pro Series champion, Chad Lawton, and the Gary Mercer Trucking. Number 26 and Joey Brown in tow behind him. As we work lap 54, Ray Alfala peaked underneath that number 29 that time by. Couldn't make anything happen down the back straightaway. But we're starting to click off those laps. As we mentioned, guys, Marcus Lindsay out by 1.4 seconds over Kevin King as he completes 54 right here.
So very quickly closing in on 1/3 distance, Tim, and that's a good thing. And I don't think really expected that in the first 25 laps or so of this one, the way we had guys hitting walls and hitting each other and all kinds of crazy things happening. But they have calmed down, and really, Joe, the racing with this new Gen 6 car, at least in the early going, has been pretty doggone good. You've had guys making passes, running different lines, and really, if you've got the setup and the driving talent, you can make 2 tires or no tires work for you for a while, and that's always good to be able to see pit strategy introduced back into this to where it's not all about strictly track position.
Well, that's exactly what I said earlier in this race. This race may be won and lost on pit road. The one man who doesn't want to leave that a chance is the number 12 of Joey Brown. He wants to try to get around the 26 of Chad Lawton. Almost had him on the backstretch there. Didn't happen, but the 12 still a threat to try to improve his position from 5th to 4th.
And as he was looking on the number 26, Steve Sheehan took a look at the 52. As you ride on board with the 12 of Joey Brown, you see Gary Mercer Trucking in front of you. And looking for something to happen here, 26 up the track a little bit, but that's really the preferred group. We're seeing a lot of these drivers run, so you're really going to have a good run down into that corner if you're going to want to make that pass on your competitor or have a good run off the corner and really cut that car down low. And you see a lot of these guys cutting down low, 3 and 4. The groove's a little bit lower on the racetrack than it is in 1 and 2. 57 laps completed of the 167 to run here. 110 laps remaining. Marcus Lindsay continues to lead and pull away from Kevin King, Ray Alfala, Chad Lawton, and Joey Brown. This is the battle for 4th you were watching.
And it is a dandy, Tim. You talked about that groove over in turns 3 and 4. You know, it almost seemed like it'd be the opposite. You run that lower groove in 1 and 2 to get a straighter shot off, but no, you can actually, just because of the bumps, you're able to run lower in 3 and 4 than you would 1 and 2. And the good news is, in 3 and 4, it lets you be able to carry all that speed and all that momentum off the corner. As you see, Brown now bypassing 26 and Lawton. So Joey Brown is up to the number 4 spot as he tries to give chase to Ray Alfala, the former iRacing.com Series World Championship Series champion. And I think, Joe, that change in groove, that change and that difference in both ends of the speedway is maybe, I don't want to say it's throwing guys for a loop here tonight, but it certainly is making it pretty interesting because the car might be off in one end and really good in the other. It almost makes for a little bit of a compromise because you end up making 2 different corner arcs in both ends of the speedway.
Joey Brown is going to get the position on Chad Lawton. He will move up from 5th to 4th. Chad Lawton puts the position back behind him. And now Chris Main might be looking to bring his machine down to pit road. He has not pitted yet. Run all 60 laps so far on old tires and no fuel. 38 this time around will come down pit road. And I believe he's the only car that is not yet pitted.
And there was a couple of close calls there with Brandon Cattell, and I believe that might have been, trying to get a number on that car in front of him, Cody Bias it might have been as well, as he goes down pit road, does the 38 of Chris Main, and all by himself. I'm sure he'll take 4 tires and fuel and be back out to the racetrack. And now, Tony, what he's hoping for is this race to go green a little bit longer, albeit he does need, I think, another 20, 25 laps-ish or so. And then these guys will start coming down pit road, and he'll be back on cycle, and then I'm sure he'll be banking on a caution at that point. So he's hoping for something to happen here as we're going to queue up one of the live webcams. You can see one of these drivers in action, and we're going to go to the 93 at Byron Daly, and there's not really a whole lot going on around him right now except for him being lapped by Marcus Lindsay, as Lindsay going to go to the inside of the ParkerClickerman.com Tim's Corner Motorsports number 93.
Yeah, not a good 2 weeks for Byron Daly. He got caught up in an incident last week at Daytona. Here he really didn't have the setup to looks like compete, and of course got up involved in an incident as well, as you see damage in that car. And Byron's just kind of out there making laps, trying to at least get what points he can for the championship this season. Certainly not a good opening couple of races for the PK machine. And Joe, that's so frustrating for these guys when you put all this effort and time and mental anguish into one of these races to come out and pretty much have it ruined by a misfortune early in the going.
Michael Conti now to the attention of his pit crew. It's going to be at least a 2-tire stop. Don't make that a 4-tire stop for Michael Conti. He only took 2 tires last time by, down and away off pit road. Also on pit road is another machine. That's going to be the 30 of Robert Hall. 4 tires for him and a full tank of fuel in his unsponsored Chevy SS. Down and away on the field. So pit stop starting to cycle through for these guys. And as I said earlier, Tim, this race very easily could be decided on pit road.
And Michael Conti falls 1 lap down here as he will be scored in 31st place. And guys, we've seen, I believe Mike Conti tried it once last year. I could be wrong, but we've seen guys go off kilter and try different pit strategies. So it's not something we haven't seen before. As you look at the 12 of Joey Brown, and he is looking at Ray Alfala for position number 3. Alfala has backed up to this battle for what is now 3rd on back, and he's got a train behind him, guys. As you ride on the roof of the 12 of Joey Brown, you have the 2 in front of you, you have the 26 behind you, 52, and look who's creeped up into the picture. How about the 8 of Dustin Montgomery in position number 7?
Yeah, great job of that driver. Another Pro Series graduate, Tim, out of Paintsville, Kentucky, and it seems like the trend continues. It's a different group of faces, but the same theme is continuing so far here in race number 2, and that is the onslaught of the Pro Series graduates. We knew we had a great class coming into this year, but Joe, I don't think we expect them to be this competitive this early. And here they are right now, I shouldn't say all, but a boatload of them inside the top 10. with a shot to really move up in the points and maybe, if everything goes right, to fall into a victory tonight. And I think that says something about the talent level of iRacing and how you can move up based on merit. You start in those Legends cars, the street stocks, and you move up through the late model stocks, the trucks, the modifieds, the nationwide cars, the National Series cars, and of course the A-Class, eventually the Pro, and the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. It's really the only form of motorsports out there where it is 100% based on merit and talent. You can't just go out and buy a better motor or buy a better crew chief, so to speak, with trick springs and trick parts. It's all based on driver ability. I think that proves that here. These guys moved up and boom, in a hurry, they picked up this new car and they are motoring towards the front in the premier sim racing series in all the land.
Racers from all over the world on the iRacing sim tonight. Ray Alfalla feeling that pressure right now as he run on the rear bumper of him right now. Joey Brown all over the back end of the Pro Geek Consulting Ford tonight as they continue to battle back and forth. Meanwhile, the battle's behind them as the number 8 machine of Dustin Montgomery once again underneath the 52 of Patrick Baldwin pick up the 6th position from him. Steve Sheehan now in the picture as well as he wants to try to pick up position on this group as well. Steve Sheehan having had a disappointing finish at Daytona, but tonight trying to make up for it by running in the top 10 at Las Vegas.
And you look at Dustin Montgomery close up on his teammate Chad Lawton. It was really as Joey Brown now goes for position number 3 on Ray Alfalla. Alfalla up the racetrack and out of the groove on this end of the racetrack. Can he find a line? Place in line here? Yes, he does in front of the number 26. But look at the 8 now on his teammate, the 26 of Chad Lawton. Side by side for position number 5. And Lawton's going to let him have it easy going into corner number 1. And the one thing I want to touch on as well is the 8 now looking at the 2 for position number 4. The 8 car is coming to the front and coming in a hurry as Montgomery is now in the top 5 and looking to pick up one more on the number 2 of Ray Alfalla. And really, when we look at last season's Pro Series, as Alfalla is now under fire from the 26, it was 3 drivers, Tony, that really lit the world on fire. 26, 83, and 8. We saw Jared Crawford have tough luck the first 2 races of the season. Chad's been running strong, as has Dustin Montgomery. Those guys were really the class of the field ahead of everybody when it comes to the end of the season and looking statistically at that series. And those 3 are really proving. Jared Crawford did it last week and was running strong this week before he got involved in a wreck. That those guys know what they're doing.
Absolutely, Tim. And again, this is more proof positive that they do. They're up here mixing it up with 2-time and defending series champion Ray Alfalla. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, and that's such an ego boost when you can not only catch Ray Alfalla, you can drive up on him, and you can pass him at will, Joe. That's got to be a big shot in the arm for these guys who just started in this series to say, hey, I not only am racing with Alfalla, I'm passing him, and I'm faster than he is. I might have a shot at this championship. And on top of that, Joe, I think something that's in maybe the back of Ray Alfalla's head right now is, I too am out of mulligans after last week. I can't have a bad race this early in the season.
But Tony, what you forget is this is only race number 2. So I'm going to say hold your horses there, cowboy. Yeah, it's a good feeling if you can get up front and run with these guys, but there's still a lot of races left to go and a lot of destinations left to go to in the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. Kevin King has a new guy behind him. That's Dustin Montgomery. They'll pick up the position 4th to 3rd as the 12 machine of Joey Brown is going to come to the attention of his crew. Look for tires and fuel as the Tyler Hudson comes off behind number 1 of Marcus Lindsay, also going down to the attention of his crew this time by.
Here comes your leader, Marcus Lindsay, down on the pit road. This is the first time he's surrendered the lead under green. He'll surrender it to Kevin King, who should be coming in onto pit road this next time by the stripe as he leads Dustin Montgomery down the back straightaway. As those guys pit, let's see who does come in at the opposite end. Look for Kevin King in the 29 down. Look for the 2 of Ray Alfalla down. Montgomery stays out. He'll lead his first lap of competition. Steve Sheehan also down on pit road, so 3 of the top 10 down on pit road this time by as well. Going to shake up the running order a little bit here, Tony.
That it is, and I anticipate we'll probably see 4 tires and fuel for each of these cars for brand new virtual Goodyear Racing Eagles and a full take of Sunoco virtual racing fuel as Alfalla is into his crew. So is Sheehan right behind him, and Kevin King starting on the outside of the front row. Well, he too is down to the attention of his crew on pit road. Right side service complete on the 2 and the 6 further back towards turn 4, and there will be 4 tires on those 2 machines. Service completed on Alfala's machine, same with Sheehan and Kevin King, just like they came in. It's going to be the 29, the 2, and the 6 as Lawton and others coming in pit road, Joe.
Lawton will come down pit road this time by. Also coming down the long stretch down pit road will be several other cars. New leader, Chad Montgomery, is your leader as Tyler Hudson on pit road looking for tires and fuel. Also on pit road is the number 28 or 39 of Michael J. Johnson. He's on pit road right now. Andrew Fayash comes off. Chad Lawton getting tires and service. 4 tires for Lawton. He's down and away. Everybody cycling through at this point. Brad Davies, Tyler Hudson coming off pit road. The 16 coming off pit road. And we have a new leader on the track.
And that's Peter Bennett scored as your leader. Dustin Montgomery is down on pit road, as is Carson McClellan in the number 24. 8 car still getting service in his race car. 4 tires on the 8 as he'll be down and away momentarily. Here comes the 69 at the opposite end. Peter Bennett nearly had a moment coming onto pit road as he got that thing loose, and he's still trying to get it down to pit speed. Brandon Gattell going to follow him down as well. That should hand the lead over to Karlavage. No, Karlavage going to come onto pit road as well in the Oboto Gaming Cockpit's number 60. So this might cycle through the pit stops as Sturgis was out there as well. And believe it or not, guys, this is the first time in a long time that I've seen Jake Sturgis not be the last driver out on his fuel and tires. He's already down and away.
Yeah, and you know what, Tim? Sometimes those things work out for you when you are the last car out. Sometimes you don't want to be the last car out. And really, it's kind of hard to keep track of who is up front right now. Now that Bennett and others have come down, that has cycled a lot of people back onto the lead lap. And I think Marcus Lindsay will cycle back around to the top spot as he goes by Michael Connie, and that is going to end up being a pass for the lead. And Joe, those 2 tires for Conti earlier, well, yeah, he came in a little earlier than the rest of these guys, but I think maybe that might end up paying off for him as he will end up running in second once this cycles through. And behind them, here's Joey Brown, Kevin King, Alfala, all in a big pack.
Michael Conti currently in second. Here comes Kevin King getting the run. He picks up 3rd place over Patrick Baldwin, and everybody kind of cycling out at this point everywhere they were. Battle now is between Steve Sheehan in the 6th between Danny Hansen in the 20. He gets a position. Sheehan gets a position, I should say, and he will move up to 7th. And a lot of guys now just kind of cycling through. We've seen the first green flag pit stop. They're going to need one more, though, to make this race.
And looking at the 2 and 12 right now with Joey Brown and Ray Alfala side by side. Alfala to the inside of Joey Brown, and these guys were battling it out before we went to the green flag pit stops, and they come out pretty much side by side as the 12 on the outside, 2 on the inside. The Pro Geek consultant Ford Fusion looking to pick up his first top 5 finish at Las Vegas. He takes the spot.
Yeah, Alfala back to moving forward as here comes Kevin King underneath Michael Connie for that runner-up spot as they work down the front straight. All this happening about 1 1/4 seconds behind your leader, Marcus Lindsay. Here comes Patrick Baldwin trying to reclaim the 3rd spot as well underneath Connie. He'll put his nose under there. Can't get the spot yet. He'll fall back in line. But, Joe, a couple of things to point out in this round of pit stops, including the big losers. Chad Lawton, Dustin Montgomery, Tyler Hudson, all losing about 6 or 7 spots on that exchange of pit stops. So certainly not a good cycle for them. Hopefully they learned something. And I got a feeling that was entry and exit. But you never know. It could have been a crew malfunction, so to speak, where something just happened. And you know what? You lost a couple seconds on pit road. It happens, but certainly not good for your momentum and for your ego when you're at the mid-portion of the race and you have some sort of pit miscue.
Running on the deck lid of the Zeno Control Chevy SS of Patrick Baldwin. You saw there just a moment ago they were too wide as Connie continues to get passed out there. He is dropping like a stone in a pond. Meanwhile, catching up this field is Ray Alfala as he's going to try to duck underneath Patrick Baldwin and try to pick up position for that Ford Fusion. Is it entirely possible, Tim? We could see for the very first time, Tim, a Ford in victory lane?
Yeah, we could very well see it here at Las Vegas as these guys are starting to pick up some positions. Guys starting to move to the front as the 2 of Alfala all over the back bumper of that 52. Now looks to the inside of the Verve Chevrolet. of Patrick Baldwin. This is the side-by-side battle for position at number 3, as Sheehan is all up in the back bumper of the 12 of Joey Brown as well. Brown, one of the drivers in the top 5, and looking down here, guys, he's the only graduate of the Pro Series in the top 5 right now, and he's trying to hold on to that as Sheehan is pressuring him for the spot.
And Tim, you almost would like to say that maybe the pit stop deal is something new to these guys, but it's not. You make plenty of pit stops in the Pro Series as well. It could just be a stroke of luck. As we said, some issues with the virtual crews, maybe dropping lug nuts, if you will, or not being quite as fast to say the rest of the counterparts here. But, you know, we'll see if all that cycles out. Or maybe it is just an entry and exit deal where they gave up enough time getting into and off of pit road that maybe the seasoned veterans of this series have learned how to maximize. And over time, again, those guys will improve on that, as Alfalo doing a great job keeping all these guys behind him right now of Baldwin, Brown, and company as they work down the front straightaway. And at this, well, I really am. You're always going to be impressed with Ray Alfalo, Joe, but, you know, for a car that I don't think is a third-place car, or even really maybe even a top 5 car, he's done a great job so far this race of keeping everybody behind him, giving what the car can give him, or taking what the car can give him, and taking a little bit more in the process, and still being able to find himself inside the top 5.
Battle brewing now between the 11, the 01, and the 20. Hansen currently running to the outside, looking in of a top 10 finish. Hudson running in 11th, and Brad Davies in 10th. These guys were top 5 in points. That could get shaken up just a little bit if they don't get that top 10 finish. Brad Davies, the key holder to that one right now. Meanwhile, the number 6 machine of Sheehan, I should say, trying to hold off Joey Brown for that 5th place position. Number 12 able to do it, but looks like he's having some trouble holding that car. Could play to the hands of the 6 as Sheehan tries to get underneath him.
Yeah, 6 definitely has the fender underneath, and he's going to make contact with him. You saw a little bit of the smoke there, and that was mighty close between those two drivers as 6 and 12. It looks like, guys, they made a little bit of contact. I saw a little bit of fender smoke from those drivers there as you ride on board now with Steve Sheehan. Behind him, Montgomery and Conti are going to switch a spot at position number 7 as Montgomery moves up into P7.
You know, we just talked about Michael Conti, Tim, and how maybe that cycling around was going to help him. But maybe short pitting didn't really help him, Joe. It doesn't appear the 5 machine has the speed that maybe it would if he was on equal tires. And Conti right now, I think the only benefit that he has is the fact that this field is so spread out, so he won't be losing spots quite as quickly. But last season's runner-up right now being shown in the 8th spot. Not a bad run by any means, but I think, Joe, he realizes, as do we, that maybe he needs a yellow flag. He needs a chance to get 4 tires and be on equal footing with the rest of this field.
Number 6, you got to give a lot of credit to Sheehan right now as he continues to try to look forward, look around that 12 machine, and wants to get that 5th place spot. Now he keeps looking once again. Not going to happen this time around. But Sheehan on the door of Joey Brown, knocking, saying, hey, let me in. Not quite going to happen this time around. Let's ride the roof cam of that number 6 unsponsored Chevy SS of Sheehan. You can see just how close he is. He's setting himself up. He wants that position in the worst way possible, but he's also being very smart about it. He knows that if he bides his time, it'll happen. And his time may have just happened. 12 wiggles off 2, and that's going to open up the door for the 6.
Whoa!
He's got it by a nose, but we'll have to see where it shakes up as they come towards the line.
Yeah, the 12 car on the outside line, not giving that 6 a whole lot of room in the middle of the corner, and the first time he's really been in a battle in this iRacing World Championship Series with Steve Sheehan in the 6, and a lot of these drivers, and I was about to say, guys, they better get this figured out because Dustin Montgomery is coming. He passes the 6 up for position number 6, and now the 8 car is looking at the 12 car for position number 5 as Dustin Montgomery coming to the front of this field, and he wants a top 5 finish in this one. We are past the halfway point in this race. Lap 93 in the books this time of 1:67 at Las Vegas.
And we're going to go on board, and, well, not on board, but inside the home of Andrew Fiash III. And you might see him right here in the mirror, but it's going to be Andrew Fiash III being bypassed right now by Joey Brown and Dustin Montgomery as Fiash, and I don't know if you call that comfort in your home when you're going a lap down, but nonetheless, there he is, and Here comes some of the leaders by that 77. Again, just squeaked in the field here tonight, back in the 41st spot, but he will go a lap down, being scored in the 33rd spot. First car being shown 1 lap down, and here is the battle ahead of him. Montgomery goes by Brown. That is for the 5th spot. Montgomery moving forward once again as the fuel load wears off, the tires begin to wear as well, Joe. And I think maybe Dustin Montgomery might be a sleeper here tonight. Somebody we didn't really expect to fly the banner up in the top 5 or so, but the driver from Wheelman Incorporated certainly getting the job done.
Dustin Montgomery, when he crosses the line, will be scored in the 5th place position. And you got to give a lot of credit to him. Not a whole lot of guys saw him coming. I think Joey Brown was too busy trying to worry about Sheehan worrying about how he's going to get around Brown. And the next thing you know, the 8 of Dustin Montgomery gets around them both and gets around them the hard way. So he's got a lot of time left to cover. The difference between Marcus Lindsay and Kevin King, almost 1.5 seconds right now, which is an eternity on the racetrack. He's got a lot of time left to pick up out there, but we'll see if he can do it. Let's ride along the Pro Geek Consulting Ford right now of Ray Alfalla as he's starting to catch up to the 29, the Razor Chevy of Kevin King. The question is, can he do it? Alfalla's got the talent, but does he have the gear underneath him that can make it happen?
And you look up front, it's Marcus Lindsay trying to lap the 39 of Michael J. Johnson, and just in front of Johnson it is the 82, the former Pro Series champion of Alex Warren in the Core Pipe Chevrolet, as the number 1 puts a 39 1 lap down, I should say. And the one thing that I find intriguing, Tony, is a lot of these guys in this stage of the run are running 30-60s. 30-66 the last time by for Marcus Lindsay. And Dustin Montgomery, the last 2 laps after Montgomery has untangled himself from traffic, consistently faster, only by a couple of hundredths a lap. Most of these guys within the top 5 are in the 30-60 bracket, as it's pretty close when you look at times. It's hundredths of a second as you look at Ray Alfalla looking at Kevin King for position number 2.
Yeah, Alfalla is certainly fighting with King, but like you said, Tim, a couple of hundredths of a second might not sound like a whole lot, but if you're 500ths of a second faster over the course of, say, 30 laps, guess what? That's about a second and a half you're going to make up, and right now, that's a pretty big gap. That's half the distance between Montgomery and Lindsay, and really it's been seen that Montgomery, at least in clear traffic, might be a little bit faster than the guys in front of him. So, Joe, the question is, do you try to maybe take advantage of that later in this run? Do you maybe try to short pit now that we're closing in inside the window for that final stop in about the next 10 laps or so? Do you maybe try to short pit to take full advantage of those fresh tires and close in on, Marcus Lindsay and Kevin King if you're Dustin Montgomery?
That's a very good question, Tony. As you run along the rear bumper of the 29 of Kevin King, Ray Alfalla getting ever closer with every lap. The short pit question, I think, is going to be something a couple drivers in the back are definitely going to try. As you see the blue oval now on from that number 2 machine, getting ready to come at the 29. As you think about short pitting, it is a strategy you're going to want to try, especially if you're in the back. The problem is, with your leaders going in excess of 200 miles per hour on the front and back stretch, is it viable? Will you be able to make up that time before the end of the race? If you're going to try it, you got to try it sooner rather than later, because your window for short pitting is running out in a hurry.
You see the 2 car falling back a little bit from the 29 of Kevin King. You ride on board with Ray Alfalla, a little bit of a bobble at a turn number 4 a couple of laps ago. And guys, it's brought in the 52, the Verve Chevrolet of Patrick Baldwin. And it's going to be a 4-car battle soon, because Dustin Montgomery is closing in on what is now the battle for second up in front of this field. And keep in mind, it's 1.7 seconds behind your leader, Marcus Lindsay, as Lindsay is picking him up and laying him down here. And one of those drivers, Tony, a couple of years ago that came onto the Pro Series, he started off strong, won Homestead, ran strong the first couple of races, and then kind of fell off. in the second half of that Pro Series season, but of course he punched his ticket, qualified for the big series in the iRacing World Championship Series, and now it's just a matter of what he can do in the big show. Had a good rookie season last year, respectable rookie season, and now he's trying to really light it up here.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. And again, we talked about earlier about guys from the Pro Series trying to make their mark, and in some cases it might take a little while. Lindsay seems to have proven that he does belong here, just like we talked about earlier tonight. Looking still for that first World Championship Series victory, but man, he is looking like he is absolutely in the catbird seat tonight, as he has more or less led this entire race start to finish, Joe. And if there is a deserving driver of a victory tonight, it is Marcus Lindsay. But hold the phone, Kevin King back in second, some electrical issues, some warp popping up on the 29 with Ray Alfala and Patrick Baldwin behind him. That's not something they want to see out their windshields.
Marcus Lindsay now getting around Jason Carvalage in number 60 machine. Carvalage will go another lap down, and I don't want to put Marcus Lindsay in the catbird seat necessarily, because he has been so dominant in this race. Right now, over a second and a half on Kevin King, 2 seconds on Ray Alfala. Marcus Lindsay has everything to lose and everything to gain right now as he continues to run in excess of 200 miles per hour down that front stretch. Marcus Lindsay at this point, I don't think he's in the catbird seat so much as he's controlling his own destiny right now. But that being said, as you ride inside the number 1 of Marcus Lindsay, all it takes is either one misstep, one blown tire, or one engine going away that could change the entire complexion of the race for Marcus Lindsay.
60 laps remaining this time by across the stripe for the 1 of Marcus Lindsay, and you look back to Jason Karlavich. That's 31st place right now. Paul Kashiba is now in 30th, 23 seconds behind your leader, little ways in front of Marcus Lindsay. So we have 30 drivers on the lead lap. Let's look back at Adam Gilliland as well, and I know we got the stats from last week. Point leader, winner at Daytona, but right now running in position number 29. And we kind of talked about it before we came on air, guys. Jeremy Allen won last season's opener. He was strong the first couple of races of the season, led the points, and then got into a little bit of trouble and ended up falling down and eventually out of the series. So Adam Gilliland does not want a repeat of that. Gilliland right now, though, running in position number 29 and far from the top 5 from where he was last week.
Yeah, Tim, exactly. But, you know, I don't want to say Adam Gilliland has not had great luck tonight. I mean, yeah, he didn't qualify so great back there about where he's running, but it's always the what-if game. And the what-if here is he got caught up in an accident early. What if that didn't happen? Would he be motoring his way towards the front of the field, or would he be back in about, 25th or 29th spot, about where he is currently in the running order? That's the big what-if question. And I don't really know that, that's a fair comparison. If he has a trouble-free race and he's running back there, yes, maybe it's a fair comparison. But I think maybe with the circumstances of tonight, it might not be a fair comparison. The same goes, Joe, for John Adams, another driver that had a great run at Daytona, and he too got caught up in one of those accidents earlier in that number 84 machine.
Number 2 looks like he tapped the wall out there on the field. He's going to drop him a little bit down as we ride along with the 84 of John Adams right now. He's currently running in position number 27. Let's ride along inside the home of John Adams. You see him working the wheel on his webcam right now, scored now in 26. And John Adams could be a sleeper for this entire season. Right now he's running solid. He's got a good run going right now, and I think he's more concerned about running for points and running clean than he is running tonight's race. So John Adams, as you take the peek inside his house, 38. Chris Main having problems in 18 as well, almost having problems out there. That's Matt Whitten, who's currently being scored multiple laps down, almost causing another incident.
What a great save by those two drivers, and I'm sure it's been a frustrating night for Matt Whitten after running up front last week at Daytona, being taken out by a late race wreck, and now one lap down, a lap he can't get back because of a race control penalty. As we look at second place with Ray Alfala to the inside of Kevin King. Kevin King to the outside, the 52, and look who's there, guys. The 8 of Dustin Montgomery battling for this position.
Oh.
Second, side by side down the back straightaway, and Baldwin giving a little encouragement to his teammate.
You could call that encouragement. That was a little bit of a moment there as it looked like King got a little bit out of shape as well. And here comes Montgomery to the bottom. Remember, the bottom is not where you want to be in turns 1 and 2. The bumps are so severe over there, it's hard to hold on to these cars. But Kevin King trying to use that to his advantage as Alfala now will use the bottom to his. He'll get the spot by Kevin King. And now King looks for the crossover maneuver. Nothing there yet. Lap car, the 60 of Karlavich. He will pull out of the way in the Abuto machine, but here comes King again on the bottom. He'll stick it right to the white line as they work out at turn number 4, side by side. Two of the fiercest competitors in the iRacing World Championship Series, King and Alfala, going at it in turns 1 and 2.
Ray Alfala continues to lead out there as we have some guys starting to come down on pit road.
Whoa!
5-2 now in the wall out there. Trouble for our 52 of Patrick Baldwin, starting to run around. Traffic coming up on him. Caution now on the field. Patrick Baldwin, he was one of your front runners up front. He is having troubles now, and that could be the end of his night. This is a good news. The only good news for this is the guys who are running up front. This is going to complete their pit stop window, and this should complete the run of pit stops for everybody running up front.
He got a lot of damage to the left-hand side and the front end of that race car. He hit the inside wall with the left-hand side, and he's going to pop the outside wall with the front end of that race car. And you can see it dog-tracking a little bit as he comes up off the apron in corner number 4. Tough break for Patrick Baldwin, as he was one of the drivers that we were seeing as a possible race contender here for this event, and I'm sure he's probably going to have to struggle to get back to a top 15 finish, let's say, and try to stop the bleeding in what would be a points situation. Here comes the 1, the 2, the 29, 8, and 6, and the rest of the field. Pit stops happening here. What should be the final stop of the evening on lap 116 into 117, guys.
You can make it the rest of the way from here, these final 50 laps or so. This is going to be the money stop, Tim, and it's going to be Lindsay Alfala 1 and 2, not only in order, but car numbers, ironically enough. King will be coming in. Montgomery, one of the first leaders, to the attention of his crew, and we do anticipate it will be 4 tires and fuel for everybody in the top 10 or 15. Yes, Montgomery will take 4. Here comes the crew of King to the right side. Same with Alfala. Now they'll go to the left side. And yes, it will be 4 tires for all. Alfala's down and away. Marcus Lindsay will win the race off the pit lane. And then it's a dead heat between Alfala and King for second, with Steve Sheehan coming off 4th. Then Chad Lawton and Tyler Hudson. Pretty much how they came into the pits is how they will come back out, Joe.
So Marcus Lindsay wants 4 tires and a full tank of fuel for him. He will come off first. Kevin King might be third, might be second. We'll see where exactly it's all scored at. But right now, he looks like he's being scored in second. Ray Alfala in third. And this shakes up the deck for a lot of people. This is going to really change the complexion of the race. And I think we're going to see some very, very heavy racing when we go back up front.
Should have a lot of wave-around cars as well if these guys in front do not decide to come down pit road. But we're going to step away for just a few moments' time, refreshing your drinks, grab a snack. This is going to be an exciting finish to this NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship on iRacing Live, the Motor Racing Network, and PSR TV. Don't go away. Welcome back to Las Vegas and round number 2 of the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. Pace car lights are off. We should be getting the green flag this next time by Marcus Lindsay and Kevin King will be your front row. As here comes Jason Karlavich around the pace car. He will be your eye dog on this caution flag. So we'll see the green flag this time by with Marcus Lindsay, Ray Alfalla, the 1 and the 2. Positions 1 and 2 when we go green. 119 going to be in the book when we come across the stripe. And Tony Stevens, we saw a lot of wave arounds there. We now have 30 cars on the lead lap, and we have a bunch of cars that pitted prior to that green flag pit, or that caution flag that pitted under the green flag. Now 1 lap down, fighting for the lucky dog.
Yeah, I really can't blame them, Tim. This is when the chaos might ensue. They might have a chance to maybe come back down pit road and get that lap back, if you will. And including in that group is Matt Witten, that penalty lap. Guess what? He's back on the lead lap now as the pace car is off. And Lindsay, he's quick to the loud pedal. He will get the jump over Alfalla and King. In fact, he'll open the door for King to maybe challenge Alfalla for second. And here comes Tyler Hudson. He now inside the top 5, and that 8 side wraps forward on the outside lane, trying to work by Kevin King. It's going to be Hudson now making some noise up at the front of this field.
Ray Alfalla gets the big jump, and coming with him is a 6 of Steve Sheehan. The unsponsored machine is going to get around Kevin King, so Kevin King jumps from what almost was second, now down to 4th, and he's getting challenged immediately by Tyler Hudson. But I think the big story everybody's watching right now is your last season champion, Ray Alfalla, about to challenge Marcus Lindsay for the lead.
Yeah, keep an eye on that number 2 of Ray Alfalla, who chases Marcus Lindsay. Lindsay has never won in this series before. I'm sure that's on his mind as he pushes forward to try to win his first NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship event. And keep in mind, the last 3 races as Alfalla goes to the inside, he's going to try to take the lead away from Marcus Lindsay. 2 out of the 3 winners at Las Vegas, guys, this was their first victory.
And you know what? It might be the same case for Marcus Lindsay. And a little stat we brought up at the top of the show there, Tim. Ray Alfalla has never had a top 5 finish at Las Vegas. Well, you know, I'm not a stat guy, Joe, but, you know, stats are made to be disproven, and right now Ray Alfalla is doing just that. Although he's got some fierce company up there trying to pry him and move him outside the top 5. One of them right now being that 6 car. Sheehan moves him up the banking. There, it's tight. Turns 1 and 2. And King up top, trying to be pushed along by Tyler Hudson as well. So, man, Sheehan and Alfalla, they go back a long way, but not giving anybody, or each other, I should say, a whole lot of racing room. Neither is King and Hudson. And again, all of these drivers go back a long ways with each other. There are some rivalries, some friendships, and some, well, some lack of love between them as well as they work through turns 1 and 2 again.
If you want us to call it like that, the number 6 is going to try to get around the number 2. Not going to happen. He's going to fall back behind. The big loser on that one is a 29 of Kevin King, as a number 01 of Tyler Hudson now tries to make the move on him from the outside. Is it going to work? Tyler Hudson a little hung out to dry out there, but he might get some help behind him in the form of the number 26 machine of Chad Lawton. Let's see if these teammates can help each other out to get around the 29 of Kevin King. But the guy who's got to be loving all of this going on behind him the most is a driver number 1 of Marcus Lindsay. 29 gets loose, opens the door. Oh, now 26 down on the apron.
Nice save by Chad Lawton. He brings it back up into traffic, but he's going to lose that top 5 position that he was battling for, and he'll be back outside the top 10 as Jake Sturgis is starting to make his way to the front. He's bringing Carson McClellan and Brad Davies, or vice versa, along with them as the 11, 24, and 41 are running nose to tail. And how about Jake Sturgis? Jackpot Jake, the last winner here at Las Vegas, trying to prove that that thing wasn't a fluke.
That he is, and guess what, Tim? He's making noise when it matters right now. Inside the final 50 laps or so of the race, the final planned green flag run, and Sturgis doing a great job in that number 41 machine for Last Row Motorsports. Another one of those drivers that ended up making his way in through the Pro Series. And again, talk about the talent and what these guys can do. It's just, this is why, Joe, I get so excited when I talk about iRacing with people. You've got everybody from everywhere around the world, literally, racing based on merit, and it's like, what, special now. The first 3 months you get for 50% off. It's a pretty cool deal. And it's amazing to see what some people can do when they get that confidence to run in these series. Sturgis being one of them, McClellan, even Brad Davies, who's been around forever. It's as much a confidence game at this level as it is anywhere, as now Davies and King starting to go at it off of turn number 2.
Get yourself in the game at iRacing.com. Currently running a special for new subscribers through the months of March and April. Find out more at iRacing.com. Marcus Lindsay continues to lead up front. Ray Alfala second, Steve Sheehan third. Your top 3 starting to break away from Tyler Hudson company. Kevin King now needs to figure out a way to get back from into that top 3 group. Currently running top 5 right now, but that might change if Brad Davies gets his way and gets around him as well. Chad Lawton, who was forced to drop down to the apron a couple laps ago, he's still running around in 12th, now trying to get a run on the 69 machine of Peter Bennett. He's going to duck low, see if he can make it happen out there. Dustin Montgomery, who brought out your last yellow flag, don't count him out quite yet. Currently scores 13th.
Sturgis gets the wall off corner number 4 is a 97 to Carson Downs, who's underneath, and he's got his teammate in tow in the number 55 of Brian Schoenberg. Downs up the racetrack. Here comes the 55 of Schoenberg. He threw it in there. Is Schoenberg going to save it? Yes, he is. Schoenberg and Sturgis side by side for the spot. Just behind them, little contact between Bennett and the 26. Here comes the 8 as well into the battle. This is going to get exciting really quickly, as here comes Dustin Montgomery.
And really, we didn't expect Dustin Montgomery to be back here. I think that pit crew maybe needs to have a little extra practice this week before Phoenix in 2 weeks, because certainly they have kind of let that number 8 machine down. And the 26 there of Lawton, who we saw make that miraculous save a little bit ago, well, I'm surprised he's still up here running inside the top 15, to be honest with you, Joe. That car should have been totaled on the back of a rollback. But what you got to watch out for is that Peter Bennett car, that blinking, that warp. That's never good when you're moving around here at 170 plus miles an hour. It can lead to disaster, and I think everybody treading very, very lightly around that 69 car right now.
Marcus Lindsay continuing to lead as everyone's starting to get a little antsy around that number 69 car of Peter Bennett. When the car does have electrical problems like that, you have no idea where it's going to reappear on the track, which makes it very, very, very treacherous to get around. The 05 machine is going to come down pit road. That's Nick Ottinger. He's not had a good night, currently scored in 34th. He might be trying to figure out anything he can do to get that Gale Force Racing machine back in contention.
Your top 10, or at least most of your top 10 right now, are single file, with Marcus Lindsay leading by a car length over Ray Alfala, another car length back to Steve Sheehan, then 2 or 3 back to Tyler Hudson in 4th, and Kevin King in 5th. But look at Ray Alfala. Alfala continues to poke the nose of that Ford down low on the Chevy SS out in front of Marcus Lindsay. So that number 2 of Ray Alfala, I think he's just waiting to try to make a move. And Steve Sheehan, his teammate behind him, he's won a couple of races in this series, but really, Tony, and he said it last season on Tim's Corner Unplugged, he's really a streaky driver. He'll have 2 or 3 good races, and then it's like he falls off the face of the earth. And then he comes back and wins a couple of races as well. So Sheehan is one of those streaky drivers. He's going to try to start the streak here in this race and carry it all the way to the end of the season at Homestead.
And hopefully it is a good streak, Tim. You don't want to continue the streak of what happened at Daytona, as he had an incident there out of turn number 4 at the World Center of Racing. As you see Andrew Fiash up on your screen, pitting from his perspective, as Sheehan's starting to lose a little bit of ground in these top 2, and Tyler Hudson and Kevin King starting to close in for that 3rd spot. Alfala peak to the inside, and it also looks like Dustin Montgomery starting to move his way forward as well, maybe trying to crack the top 10. As remember, he had pit issues on that final pit stop, Joe. He now inside the top 10 as he works by the 41 of Sturgis.
Accelerator problems with number 26 machine of Chad Lawton. His night is over. He decided to pull up the garage, so Chad Lawton having a disappointing evening, not the finish he wanted out here on this track, especially with those accelerator problems in his machine. Marcus Lindsay continues to lead. Ray Alfala 2nd, Steve Sheehan in 3rd, Tyler Hudson 4th, Kevin King rounds it out, your top 5, and the top 5 right now as close as they've been all night. 1/10 of a second between Lindsay and Alfalla right now, and these two guys, I think, are just trying to figure it out. These guys are just trying to figure out what these cars have and see when they can challenge each other for that lead position. As you run in-car right now with Ray Alfalla, your former two-time champion, he looks very content right now running behind the number 1 machine, just waiting to see when he's going to be able to strike. Not if, but when.
And there are some lap cars up in front of these guys on newer tires. Matt Whitten and Andrew Fayash III, two of those drivers that took the wave around. And, of course, the disadvantage with taking the wave around, you couldn't come down pit road under that last caution and get the tires and fuel. So those guys are making their pit stops now under the green flag. I believe Danny Hansen in the 20 is still 1 lap down, and a bunch of other drivers there fighting for what is now the iDog or the free pass if we do get a caution in the next 30 laps of this race. As these guys, Las Vegas seems to have a green flag feel to it. So we could go green the rest of the way. We'll have to see how this plays out. Alfalla in second, Sheehan in third. They're chasing Marcus Lindsay. And here comes Tyler Hudson trying to bring Kevin King and Brad Davies along with them. And then there's about 3 car lengths back or so to Carson McClellan, Carson Downs, Brian Schoenberg, and Dustin Montgomery now your top 10.
Check this out up here on the screen, guys. Paul Kashiba a lap or so ago, actually not even off of turn number 4. He was 3 wide with Brown and Conti, and that almost ended very badly as they made contact, but a heck of a save for Kashiba. Danny Hansen was kind of stuck in the middle of that one as well, and that could have been really bad. Chris Main also caught a piece of that one, but things got a little hairy, and again, the quality of these drivers shines through as they're able to save those race cars despite sliding around in a controlled slide in excess of 170 miles per hour. But the focus again back up front, as it is Lindsay still trying to continue leading this race, and it's crunch time now, Joe. 140 laps on the board, 27 circuits remain. There is less than 50 miles left in this race, and if you're Marcus Lindsay, you've got 4, 5, 6 of the best. Well, arguably this entire field are the best, but you've got some of the biggest names in the history of sim racing breathing down your tailpipes and on your deck lid and spoiler right now. How do you keep from choking with all this pressure, these guys behind you that have built such big names in the sport?
And as you look back off the deck lid of Marcus Lindsay right now, you see some of those guys lined up like a big parade out there. Ray Alfalla, your 2-time champion, immediately on his tail. Steve Sheehan, who's always a threat in this field. Tyler Hudson as well. And then there's Kevin King, the driver from Brawley, California, trying to get his first win of the season, currently running in 5th, about a car length between him and the 0-1 of Tyler Hudson. Now Kevin King tries to duck low. He's going to try to at least position himself in the pass. Not going to happen this time by. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the next 50 laps, as these guys are not going to be content just running parade laps out there.
143 being worked on the board of 167, so we are under 30 laps remaining in this event. Saw one little wiggle out of the 80 of Brandon Cattell back here, and what a great battle this is right now. The 80, 92, 34 of Matt Busa back there, 69 of Peter Bennett as well, as Bennett is sliding backwards in a hurry. Here comes the 92 of Casey Malone to the inside, the Gary Mercer trucking number 92, and Matt Busa, another driver, guys, had a top 5 finish last week, looking to make a top 10 splash here at Vegas.
Yeah, he looking for a good run. It might be in the on the cusp of that, Tim, as he is inside the top 15 in that number 34 car. As they're even trying to work by Peter Bennett right now, and in fact, Busa trying to get by Malone on the top side. I don't know if that's going to work for him on turn number 4. Might open the door to Lewandowski, and really a great recovery by Thomas Lewandowski, Joe. He was the first caution of the night right about here when he was inside the top 10, backed it in the fence, and the crew has certainly done the job. The driver has done the job to recover, maybe not fully, but nicely, as he too looking to maybe work inside the top 15 before the checkered flag.
Someone who wants to keep inside the top 10 at least is to drive the number 11 machine, the drill aisle machine of Brad Davies, currently running in 11. The driver from Wachalla, Florida, doing a good job being consistent all race long, staying in the top 10. But can he do a little bit better right there? Carson McClellan immediately behind him. And then, of course, Carson Downs in the number 97. These guys all being very quiet tonight. trying to make something work out there as time starts ticking away here in Vegas.
Coming down to the finish of this race, 146 getting worked on the board here as you ride on board with the 24, Carson McClellan, the 11 of Davies to the outside, and here comes the popsicle Ford of Carson Downs. Downs looking to make something happen here as they go up the racetrack. Downs to the inside of the 11 of Brad Davies. Davies falling back a couple of spots here, and former winner of this race keeping look at the battle for second. Here comes the 6 of Steve Sheehan to the inside of the 2 of Ray Alfala. Sheehan starting to make his move. 147 complete this time, 20 laps to go.
And Tim, this is about the point in that other green flag run we had when we saw Ray Alfala begin to fade. Now, we have to remember that Alfala had 2 tires on that stop, and I think we might have thought that maybe it was the 2 tires starting to come back to bite him at the very end of that run. Maybe not. Maybe the setup starting to go away on the Pro Geek Consulting number 2 as Sheehan has gotten by and is trying to close in on Marcus Lindsay. Tyler Hudson can be the next driver to try to stalk Ray Alfala and prey upon his weakness as they work down the front straightaway. So Alfala might be in damage control mode right now as that setup and that car may be starting to go away, Joe.
You know, Ray Alfala may have made a couple changes on that car down on pit road. We weren't really able to get a view on that, but it wouldn't surprise me if he tried to make a couple changes and they backfired on him. Now he's starting to show a little bit of weakness here on the long run, but if anybody can figure it out, it's going to be Ray Alfala. He's going to continue to run in third. Meanwhile, Tyler Hudson, to run along his rear bumper, continues to be in fourth. Kevin King, about 3 car lengths behind him, in fifth. We'll have to watch these two, as these two would be the next ones to pass Ray Alfala and pick up those positions to get those points. And nobody wants them more than Tyler Hudson, who was so strong in the shootout 3 weeks ago, and then Kevin King, who now looks like he's having some electrical problems.
Here comes Brian Schoenberg to the inside of the number 11 of Brad Davies. Davies not giving him a whole lot of room underneath as Davies wants to keep that position. 55 of Schoenberg almost to the back end of that number 11 of Brad Davies. And we've seen this before, Tony, where Brian has made things exciting in the closing laps of this race. And here comes the 97 of Carson Downs as well. His teammate trying to follow him through with the 11 in defense.
I was getting ready to point out, Tim, that 11 car is tail happy in traffic. You just saw it. And now Davies is in severe damage control mode. We don't know what kind of damage that car has as he shoved the rear end over, as he made it worse, and it looks like maybe he has made it worse. Could maybe, Joe, there be a tire going down the number 11? Could maybe he have hit some virtual piece of debris that is causing that car to go away? Because it is a handful, and Davies did a great job hanging on to it, but I don't know if he can hang on for another 15 laps or so.
Well, if the virtual debris didn't hurt him, the wall definitely did. And it's not just the tire that's going to be a problem now for Brad Davies in the 11 machine. It's going to be the chassis also affected by that hard hit. He will hold on to the 10th position, but it is definitely go time for him. And Jake Sturgios in the 41 machine totally knows that. Sturgis wants to make the position happen. He is catching him slowly but surely, and Sturgis could very easily walk away with some very good position, a top 10 finish on this field as we continue to follow your top 2 2/10 of a second between Sheehan and Lindsay.
Sheehan a little bit faster than Marcus Lindsay, almost a tenth faster the last lap by. We'll see what he does here. Sheehan a 72 to Marcus Lindsay 74. So Sheehan just a little bit quicker, and he is there. 2/10 of a second between your top 2. Alfala has fallen back to third as you ride on board with Steve Sheehan's Sponsor Me Chevrolet XS as they are coming up on a lapped car of Byron Daly and the Parker Kligerman number 93. This time by 1:54 in the books for Lindsay and Sheehan.
And now it's a battle of simply 2 wills as who wants to win this race worse than the other one. Lindsay last time is 77, Sheehan is 79, 200ths of a second difference that gets split back the other way. This time Sheehan takes full advantage of the lap car of Byron Daly. He'll close in a little bit on the back bumper of Marcus Lindsay as they continue to separate themselves from Alfala and Hudson. That's the battle for third as Hudson's beginning to close in on Alfala off of turn number 4. 12 laps to go this time The difference at start-finish, it's going to be less than 0.2 of a second. Sheehan picked up nearly half a tenth on Lindsey that time, and as they work through 1 and 2, he is there, Joe. It's 1 car length between Sheehan and Lindsey for the lead.
12 laps to go, and nobody knows that better than Marcus Lindsey as he's starting to feel the pressure of Steve Sheehan. Steve Sheehan, who is looking for a sponsor, could very well earn it tonight if he's able to take away the win here in Vegas. Marcus Lindsey doing everything he can to hold him back. You run along the bumper of Marcus Lindsey right now, the rear bumper, and you can see the big bow tie on that number 6 machine coming slowly but surely for that number 1 machine of Marcus Lindsey. With 11 laps to go, we're getting ready for a big shootout here at Vegas.
Marcus Lindsey has not won a race in this series. Steve Sheehan broke into the scene on this series as an A-class driver a couple of seasons ago, but he's no stranger to victory lane and whatever sim it is, whether it's NASCAR Racing 2003 season or this iRacing simulation. The 6 of Sheehan looking to pick up a victory here. Marcus Lindsey looking to hold on to the win as they will lap Brandon Schmidt and put the 27th place car 1 lap down.
Oh, and Sheehan caught him in a bad spot there. Schmidt pulls out of the way as he realizes the leaders are coming. That was a moment for Steve Sheehan. Really, Lindsey didn't catch him in a great spot as well. It affected his corner exit as Lindsey touches that white line. He bobbled briefly, but it looks like it's all going to be pretty much a wash for both drivers. Sheehan last time at the line, a 9.05 to Lindsey's 9.13, but it doesn't matter. Sheehan is there. He's going to try to loosen up Lindsey off turn number 2. He's close enough to make a difference, and Joe, we've seen it tonight. These cars get loose with somebody behind you, something Marcus Lindsey has not experienced all race long.
9 laps to go as you run into the car of Steve Sheehan right now, and there's less than a half a car length now between those two. 8 to go as they hit the stripe. Sheehan continuing to drive hard against Marcus Lindsey. Marcus Lindsey doing everything he can to keep that number 6 behind him, but the 6 will not be tamed for much longer. The 1 and the 6 continuing to position themselves for big things here in the duel at the desert. Alfala continues to run 3rd, Hudson 4th. Kevin King under fire now from Carson McClelland in 6th.
Those are teammates back there in positions 5 and 6 as Carson McClelland is looking to take a top 5 finish away from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The 1 has pulled the 6 by about a car length now as they go into corners number 1 and 2. Sheehan not putting a whole lot of pressure compared to those last couple of laps. What a great run in the middle of the corner off, though, for the 6 of Steve Sheehan. He closes back in on the 1 of Marcus Lindsey. If you're Sheehan, when do you make the move? You're less than 10 laps to go and looking at a win at Las Vegas in round number 2 at 2013 for the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. It looks like, Tony, that Sheehan just a little bit better out of these corners.
He is, and I think he's really good through the center and off of turns 1 and 2. He's able to get that car to cut just a hair bit better, beat Lindsey back to the throttle by mere inches, but that might be all it's going to take. He's closer than he's been all race long to Marcus Lindsey, and Sheehan, I don't think, is going to be denied if he possibly can. He started to arc out more in turn 3 to get a straighter drive off of turn 4 to maybe get back to the gas a little bit quicker, and Lindsey pretty much is stuck to what he's been doing all race. He hasn't had to pass cars. He hasn't had to change his line, and now is not the time to experiment. Sheehan is there. They work off turn number 2. Lindsey barely out of shape. Sheehan might have a shot at him.
Sheehan doing everything he can as there's smoke on the track. Looks like a car blew up down there. It's going to be the number 93 of Byron Daly blown up out there. The yellow flag stays in its holster. Green flag continues to fly. 4 to go. Marcus Lindsey now getting the advantage on the front stretch, but here comes Steve Sheehan. He continues to look low. He continues to look underneath the number 1 machine. He wants that position, and he's challenging for it now on the back bumper of the number 1, right along the rear bumper of the number 1 machine of Marcus Lindsey. You can see just how close the number 6 is and how bad the number 6 wants to get in front and win this race.
Should these two make contact, the beneficiary might very well be Ray Alfala, running in 6/10 of a second off this battle for the lead as the 164 lap completes. 165 being worked on the board now. 1 and 6, your battle for the win as Lindsey and Sheehan right up on the back bumper of the 1 of Lindsey, down the back straightaway as we work 2.5 laps to go in this race.
Tim, it's just like last Sunday's NASCAR Sprint Cup Series event here at Las Vegas, where Kenseth was the leader and Kane was the chaser. This time, the names are different, but the game is the same. Popsicle sticks in the air. 2 circuits remain. Can Marcus Lindsay hold on for his first career NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship victory? Sheehan cuts down, puts the air on the left front to try to make that car turn. He cannot get the run. They'll work down the back straightaway for the penultimate time into turns 3 and 4. If Sheehan has anything, Joe, he's going to have to do it this lap.
White flag about to fly on the field as Marcus Lindsay continues to lead. He will accept the white flag this time by Steve Sheehan, trying everything he can, trying to do every trick he knows how to get around that number 1 machine and pick up a win here in Vegas. Marcus Lindsay, though, rolling the dice as he continues to run on the backstretch, running on the roof cam of the number 6 machine. That's Sheehan. Sheehan goes low, goes high. Now he's going to try to make it work on 3 and 4.
Here comes Steve Sheehan to the outside. Marcus Lindsay to the inside. Is he going to have the run? Here comes Sheehan one final time. It's not going to do it. Marcus Lindsay to victory lane in his first NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship victory. What a run for Steve Sheehan. Sheehan comes home in second, Alfala third, Hudson in fourth. And guys, I know we were watching this battle up here for the lead and for the win, but Kevin King held off all comers in position number 5. He held off Brian Schoenberg, Carson McClellan, Carson Downs, Dustin Montgomery, and Jake Sturgis in your top 10.
Yeah, great job, and I think this is a victory Marcus Lindsay is going to remember for a while. Any victory in this series is memorable, but to hold off one of the best in Steve Sheehan and beat Ray Alfala and everybody behind him, Lindsay, a victory well earned. There is no question now, Joe. Marcus Lindsay is a fixture, and he is here to stay in the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. That was not just a win. That was not just a great race. That was sheer domination on the part of Marcus Lindsay. That Sim Chassis team has something to be proud of, and it looks like he will celebrate here in the front straightaway.
Marcus Lindsay burning him up here on the front straightaway. You know, and Marcus Lindsay absolutely earned every bit of this win here tonight. He led the majority of the laps. The only time he was passed is during the pit stops. That's the only time you saw him exchange the lead out there. And when he changed the lead with Ray Alfala at one point as well. Marcus Lindsay had everything to win out here, had everything to gain, and he showed out here that he is going to be a contender in this year's NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. A victory well earned for Marcus Lindsay and the entire number 1 team.
So Lindsay continues to celebrate. We will step away for just a few moments' time, and we'll bring you back with the top 5 from this evening's racing action at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, as Marcus Lindsay is your first-time winner in this series. Don't go away. Welcome back to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and we're going to show you the finish of this race once again. Marcus Lindsay comes home with the victory. Steve Sheehan chased him down and nearly had something for him, but it's going to be the one in victory lane. As you watch the replay, we'll go through the top 10. Steve Sheehan in second, Ray Alfala in third, Tyler Hudson comes home in fourth with Kevin King in fifth, and holding on what was a fantastic battle at the finish between himself, Brian Schoenberg, Carson McClellan, and Carson Downs. Dustin Montgomery comes home in ninth, and Jake Sturgis will be awarded with the top 10 finish, finishing in 10th after winning the race one season ago. Tony Stevens is down in victory lane with the third driver to make Las Vegas Motor Speedway his first win in the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. Tony Stevens with Marcus Lindsay.
You know, Tim, some people find luck in Sim City, and some people find nothing but heartache, and tonight it was Marcus Lindsay finding luck, and lady luck for that matter, although I think it was a little more than luck that took him to victory lane as he brings home his first career iRacing World Championship Series victory. And Marcus, I know it has to feel really good for you to be in victory lane, but what was it like trying to hold off Steve Sheehan over those final few laps? That had to feel like an eternity for you.
Yeah, it was a really long race. Ray ran me really hard for a bit, and then Sheehan got by Ray, and yeah, it felt like a while. I think the last 20 laps felt like it took about an hour.
It seems like when you have that pressure on you, obviously the time just slows down. Was there anything you were worried about? Did you have any recollection about the setup maybe going away at some point, or had you even been familiar with what it was like to have somebody that far tucked up underneath your bumper for that long? I mean, it had to be such a handful, or was your setup and the car stable enough to where that really didn't affect you that much?
The setup was really good. Sim Chassis put together a really good piece. Kevin King, Pat Baldwin, Carson McClellan, and Robert Hall all put in a lot of work. It showed in the qualifying and the race set, but I think I got kind of lucky that the closest anyone got to me was Sheehan at the end, and it was at the end of pretty much a full fuel run, and the car was already starting to tighten up by then. So I think Sheehan being on my bumper actually helped it rotate a little bit better and helped me defend the attack.
And Marcus, that's always good when you've got a quality piece under you. You know, like you say, even when it turns better when somebody's underneath you and behind that back bumper, that's always a good thing. What kind of a shot in the arm does this give you now into the rest of the season, knowing that you have a team, you have the ability to be able to outrun Steve Sheehan, Ray Alfala, Tyler Hudson, Kevin King, all the guys that you beat tonight? What does that do for you?
It feels really good. Last season was pretty miserable at times. It started out pretty well, but it didn't end. Probably the last 10 weeks weren't very good at all. So it feels good to get a win. It's a really tough competition. I won 2 pro races, but it was not even remotely the same. And I had luck to get both those pro wins, but this one I think I pretty well showed that I could hang the whole race without having to use pit strategy to get the win.
Well, you did a great job of that. I know, Marcus, there's a lot of people that have made it possible for you to work your way up through the iRacing ranks to be here tonight.
Yeah, first off, I got to thank Michael Main, Main Performance PC and the Butto Cockpits. They've sponsored me for 2 years in DWC now, and they were my first sponsor in Pro in 2011. So I'm really thankful for him. He's helped out a lot. And HVMP, High Voltage Media Productions, with Case Brinksma and Dylan Livingood came on the car this year for an associate sponsorship. So they help out quite a bit. So I'm glad to get a win for them as well as for me. And finally, I got to thank everyone at Sim Chassis, Pat Baldwin, Kevin King, Robert Hall, Carson McClellan, Art Lucas built us a great Daytona set last week, and Matthew Moose and Nicholas Gertzen was spotting for me, and he did a really good job.
That's Marcus Lindsay, your winner here tonight in round number 2 of the 2013 NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. Great job by Lindsay, dominated this race, and the guy that chased him to the checkered flag and gave it all he possibly could is standing by with Joe Cortez.
Steve Sheehan in the unsponsored number 6 Chevy SS. Steve, walk us through those last few laps. You were doing everything you can to get around Marcus Lindsay. What was the barrier point for you?
I was doing everything I could without overdriving. The car gets really tight behind, and the closer I got, the tighter it got. and he did everything he had to do. It was mainly about trying to pressure him into a mistake the closer I got, especially in 1 and 2. My car was rolling through the center so much better than his, but he was staying just low enough to where I couldn't get a nose on him, and all I could really do was get up behind him, kind of rattle his cage a couple times. I mean, there was no breaking point. He did everything he could, and I really got a good run on the white flag lap, and he blocked like he definitely should have, and it was an awesome race.
It's got to be a really good feeling for you and everyone who makes number 6 team work after a 33rd place finish last week at Daytona. Second place, it's not first, but certainly nothing to sneeze at.
Oh, not at all. I mean, I'm really hoping to rebound with a really strong season all the way through the season instead of just a streaky, hit or miss kind of season like last season. There was a few races in the middle of the season where I was really, really strong, and people knew I was going to be strong, and I lost my way, and it feels really good to bounce back after Daytona. Honestly, I'm more worried about a couple other guys that had bad races, like Ray, and I did what I had to do tonight, and as long as I stay around them for the next few weeks, I think I'll really have a good shot at this.
Steve, tonight we saw a completely different kind of racing than we saw the first 2 weeks in this Gen 6 car. What do you feel was the main difference in running this race tonight with a Gen 6 car as opposed to this race last year in the Gen 5 car?
It's a very difficult car to grasp. I know most guys in the service, they know from testing this car. It's difficult, down straightaways almost, especially through the front straightaway here at Vegas, and it's just very difficult to keep the car under you and maintain the balance of too loose or too tight and just right, especially with the draft. There's a little bit of suck up now, and a car that's a little bit off can really hang with someone that's a couple tenths better than them, and the more I've always said, the more difficult they can make this car, while maintaining the realism factor, the better races are going to be. People are going to be more worried about driving their car rather than getting that last inch of racetrack because they have a perfect handling car under them. This thing will never handle perfect, so it's going to be fun.
So what then is the number one lesson you're going to take away from this and apply it when we come back to racing in 2 weeks?
Well, for the past couple seasons, if I was in that position, I probably would have wrecked myself out trying to go for broke. It's very foolish. It's something I've been trying to really train myself to not do. My main lesson is just get solid finishes. I mean, I think the average finishing position of Ray the past couple seasons has been 8, right around 8 or 7. As long as I really have strong finishes and bring my A game every week, I know I can give him a run. And it's pretty cool to do it with an unsponsored car too.
Last question, Steve. I understand you got a tweet at the end of this race from Parker Kligerman offering you a sponsorship on that number 6 machine. That would be the Parker Kligerman logo would look real nice in the hood of that number 6.
I absolutely agree, and I honestly did not know about that. Luckily, we are able to keep our cell phones right next to us, unlike Parker, and I'm absolutely going to consider that offer, and hopefully I can get more races like this. Like I said, I know I can be a contender, and I'm pretty stoked about that. You just clued me in, so that's the first I've heard, and I'm pretty excited about that.
You might want to get back in touch with him real soon then on Twitter there, P. Kligerman on Twitter. Steven, what's potentially your final unsponsored race? Who makes it work for you?
Well, I've actually got a couple interested people in kind of climbing on board the car for some secondary sponsorship, maybe on the quarter panels and stuff. And Richard Falkenberg at Lane Sim Products. You guys should go to lanesp.com and go check his stuff out. They're really, really cool, and they're really customizable button boxes that he makes. And obviously got to thank my team. People by now know I kind of work with JRM and all the guys over at the Drill Aisle TeamSpeak. They know who they are, And, I mean, we obviously brought one of the better cars here tonight. I felt like I was the strongest car there when it mattered. And hopefully we keep it up every week.
Unsponsored, but maybe not for long. Steve Sheehan finishes second. Steve, good run tonight. We'll see you in 2 weeks in Phoenix.
Thanks, guys.
Tony Stevens catching up with our third-place finisher. Tim Terry's got our third-place finisher was I had with two-time championship Ray Alfalo.
Down here with Ray Alfala, and the streak is broken. Ray, finally a top 5 finish at Las Vegas, coming home in third. Talk about your run.
Yeah, Tim, I'm pretty happy with it. Just risk versus reward there at the end. I saw Steve putting pressure on me, and I was managing my temperatures as best I could, and decided, well, I'm just going to ride here behind Steve. And unfortunately, my car started dragging the ground. You got really, really tight, and I just tried to stay as close as possible to them if they started racing, see if I could get into the mix.
That started that green flag run to the finish of the race. You had a close battle with your teammate, Steve Sheehan. Talk about you in the sixth, swapping a little bit of paint there.
I'm not sure I remember us swapping paint, but we were really, really close, and probably maybe took a little bit of risk that we shouldn't have taken, but everything worked out. Unfortunately, Tom got taken out early in the race with a internet issue, net code, and that's really unfortunate. I think I was like 5 feet from him, so hopefully we get this sorted out, because it's just unacceptable for this level series to have this going on. Other than that, I mean, you saw the race went green forever, so I think props to everybody. It's been one of the best races I've been a part of ever.
And a cool little stat as well, first top 3 finish for a Ford in the iRacing, NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. What prompted the switch to Ford this season?
I just like how it looks a little more than the Chevy. That's about it.
Now, looking forward, 2 weeks' time, we head to the Phoenix International Raceway. Can we pull a win out there and possibly get a little bit closer to the top of the standings after what happened at Daytona?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still recovering at Daytona, but Daytona was just pure bad luck. I got in a hurry to get in the wreck pretty much. Started in the back, went to the front, wrecked on lap 6, just a car in front of me in the front of the pack. So I'm not really paying attention to Daytona. Phoenix is a decent track for me now, my best place. I think I have like one top 5 there. Just going to look for another run, and maybe if I can get the win, be there at the end, see what happens.
You got some teammates that help you get to the track each week. You also got some sponsors, and you got a new sponsor on the deck lid, a couple of guys tagging on for this season as well. Who makes it happen for Ray Alfala?
Well, first got to thank everybody at Drill Isle and J Show for all their help, and the guys at MCR also for providing servers and testing and things like that. That's a lot of help. And also, obviously, got to thank Pro Geek Consulting. Got Disabled Racers on board, disabledracers.com on board this season for the first time, so that's cool. Go check them out. I got Tim's Corner, your show, and of course we got Hick and Jicks, where you can buy everything.
And that's Ray Alfala coming home in position number 3. Tony Stevens has caught up with Tyler Hudson, driver of the 01.
Certainly have, Tim, and I know this guy right here has got to be excited about the run that he had tonight. It wasn't a W, but Tyler Hudson, did you know coming in, or let me back up. If I told you coming into tonight you'd exit Las Vegas as the unofficial points leader, would you have told me I was crazy?
Well, I don't know about that. That's certainly the goal, and it was after the good finish at Daytona. It was realistic to if we had a good run tonight. So, fortunately, that all worked out.
Well, it worked out for you, and your Ford certainly seemed to be on a rail. And, you started back at about the 13th spot or so, but something we didn't pick up on until late in the race. You pitted early and had to drive through a lot of that chaos early in the race. How did you bypass a lot of that to work your way back inside the top 5?
Yeah, it was. I mean, we had it was a pretty decent car, but that first caution there, I forget who got together, but I never saw the wreck, and John Gorlinski jumped on the brakes, and I was following him pretty close, and so I piled into the back of him and tore the front end up. I had the hood in my face and everything, so I had to pit that first caution, and luckily it was only like 15 seconds of damage. I'm not sure if it affected the way the car was going or not, but I feel like it was a little slow on the straightaways as a result of that, but I'm not really sure, but it seemed to be just a tick off. But anyways, it was the rest of the race coming up to the field. It was really relatively calm. I mean, you couldn't do a whole lot of passing. You kind of just rode and got what you can got when you could get it, and waited for green flag pit stops to try and pick up a few more spots. And that was really pretty much the race until the end there, when I think we got a caution. I was running 7th, and I pitted and came out 6th or whatever. So I was just in the right line at the last restart to pass a few guys on the outside, and the rest of history.
Well, certainly it's good job for you to be on top of the point standings, and I know that we're going to Phoenix, Tyler. That's a different type of racetrack. What kind of challenge are you going to face with this new Gen 6 car at a flat, shorter racetrack with a 1 mile oval in Phoenix?
Well, I think the main thing is just getting the rear tires hooked up off the corner. You can get on the drive pretty good, at the beginning of a run with good tires on it, but as soon as you start heating those tires up, it wants to slide pretty good off. And I've noticed with this car, the throttle control is very important on keeping the balance on the car. So I think that's going to be a big key coming off the corners at Phoenix. I don't think you want to use them up too early, or you'll be paying the price later in the run. Unlike most tracks we go to, that's not normally the case, but I think it is on the shorter tracks for sure.
Well, we'll certainly be looking forward to that. That's in 2 weeks' time here on PSR TV and MRN, the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR. Tyler, I know there's a lot of people that make this possible for you, and now you get another chance to thank them here on the broadcast this evening.
Yeah, say thanks to my wife Lisa. She's the biggest supporter I got. She watches every race and always cheer me on. I got to thank my sponsors, of course, John Ada with AdaSignWraps.com. He does awesome paint schemes, sim racing, real life. He can do hero cards, T-shirts, whatever you want. He's the man to go to, and he's not only a great sponsor, he's a really good friend. So that's cool to have him on board. And another sponsor, Double J's Hobby Shop in New York. They're a hobby shop for RC cars and planes and stuff. And got to thank all the guys at Will Mini. I mean, we put a lot of time into Vegas. And we struggled, honestly, for pretty much ever since we started on it until last night. We kind of got a little bit better, and so all those guys, a lot of them had some bad luck, but they just need to keep their heads up. Long season, and thank those guys and you guys for the broadcast, and I appreciate it.
That's Tyler Hudson. And Tyler, before I let you go, I have to ask, when do the T-shirts go on sale that we've seen John Ada teasing everybody with?
I'm not sure. I think he's waiting until his website he's redoing it, AdaSignWraps.com, and when it's ready to launch, he's going to have a bunch of that stuff on there. I think the T-shirts are more just to show what he can do if people want a shirt or something. I think he's going to make us a couple, and maybe if we have some people want to order some, I'm sure we can work that out. But he just does an outstanding job with those T-shirts. It looks really nice, and any driver, sim racing or not, or real life, will be able to have an opportunity to get a shirt made or something. He does it at a really good price, so yeah, that's pretty cool.
What do you know? The first sim racing driver to have his own T-shirts. That's absolutely awesome. Hey guys, we've seen Dale Jr. and Danica Patrick and Jimmy Johnson, with all their merchandise trailers. We're gonna be having the Tyler Hudson and the other drivers with merchandise stores here pretty soon, and we'll be pushing them here on the broadcast. That's pretty wild the way this sport has certainly taken off, and you never know, Joe. It might be at the Hick and Jicks website with the Tim's Corner merchandise. But anyway, that's a whole different story. I know you're standing by with the guy that finished 5th.
Kevin King finishing 5th, starting 2nd though on this field. And Kevin, 5th isn't a bad finish, but starting 2nd, I'm sure it's not the finish you guys were hoping for tonight.
Actually, it was, because I figured there was a group, the Drill Out J Show conglomerate, were really, really fast, and I was really worried that even though we qualified well, that they would just go and pass all of us. So I was looking for a top 10 for tonight, but top 5 is definitely something I'm pretty happy about.
With his new Gen 6 car at Las Vegas, what was the biggest challenge for you holding on to that top 5 finish tonight?
My particular car, I think I drove something a little different than Marcus did. It would bottom out after 35 laps or so, entering turn 3. So it got a little bit more tight than everyone else, I think, and I ran a little bit lower. So for me, it wasn't so much that I was getting loose or anything, and the car just started to bottom out, and it ruined the right front a little bit more than I would have liked. But it was so fast in the short run that I couldn't really get away from running it. So we've tried, I don't know, week and a half's worth, if not more, of different things, and that's the thing that I felt most comfortable running. And they had something a little looser that I wasn't real comfortable running on the front stretch. So I just kind of ran my own thing.
Kevin, you've been in sim racing now for well over a decade. Where, in all the different iterations of sim racing and all the evolutions, what is the biggest thing that you've been able to learn from all those years and apply to this new Gen 6 car?
Nothing. I don't think. It drives pretty much the same like the old car, I think. It's just the draft has such more of a greater effect to how you drive that it definitely takes into consideration, like, okay, can I drive really hard? Do I need to drive a little softer? But in terms of like saving your stuff, you still have to be smooth in the throttle. You still have to back up your entry when you need to, and you have to roll the entry, the middle of the corner. Make sure you're not getting full throttle right at apex, because that'll really kill the tire. So it doesn't really drive any different to me than the old car, but the draft has such a bigger effect that it definitely can change the way your car handles, because you're carrying so much more speed. So you really have to take that into consideration when you're going around the track.
Kevin, last week you finished 28th at Daytona. Tonight you finished 5th. Definitely a big boost to the campaign for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I don't really finish well at super speedways ever, so I usually figure the first race is a throwout. Unfortunately, it's obviously very early, but like I said, going into this week, we practiced so much that it was a little disheartening for a while seeing some of the guys' times, because we weren't even close to that. I was like, what could we be doing wrong? And to finally, we found qualifying speed pretty early, and we took that, and it didn't really translate into race speed. But Patrick, myself, Carson, Rob, and Marcus just kept working and working and working, and finally we got something that was, as good as we thought we could get at that point. And obviously Marcus took it a little bit further and won the race, so I'm pretty excited.
Last question, what are we going to see from you on the 28 team in 2 weeks in Phoenix?
I don't know who the 28 is, but the 29 team, I'm just kidding, Joe. Hopefully we'll have a good run. It's my favorite track. It gave me a little bit of fits earlier. I got a new wheel that I think I'm used to now. Got all the settings dialed in, getting used to two hands and all that good stuff. So looking forward to going there. It's going to be really hard to pass, just like it was here. But I think the opportunity presents itself a little bit more so in 1 and 2 versus 3 and 4. It's just a typical short track. So I'm looking forward to getting there and seeing what we can unload. Hopefully it's pretty quick. I know our guys are going to work really hard to get us up to speed, so we won't stop trying to get better.
Kevin, who makes it work for you guys down there?
First of all, I want to thank Patrick Baldwin. Like I said, he's probably like our brains of operations, so to speak, in our team. He does so much and works so hard. It's really disheartening to see him have a bad finish, because it's like, you work so hard, you do so much, and then you have a bad finish. It's not really fun. Even though Marcus wins, it still sucks. So thanks to him, obviously, for digging so much and helping us out. Carson for doing his thing and being a good teammate, not destroying me when I pinched the hell out of him there the last couple laps. Marcus for being great. I always knew he could be pretty good, obviously. It's just a matter of time before he won a race. Robert, our secret ninja that doesn't say much but kind of comes around and does good stuff for us. But sponsor-wise, Razor. Hold on here. Better bring up my car. I have a bunch of stuff. I have Razor Alpine Stars. I want to give a shout out to Quentin at xboxcodes.com. We have Disabled Racers. I think Ray's running the same sponsor, so that's pretty cool. And basically all the team for trying so hard this week and getting us up to speed.
Kevin King, driver of not the 28 machine, but the 29 machine, finishing in 5th tonight. Kevin, good finish. We'll see you in a couple weeks in Phoenix.
Appreciate it.
Tim Terry standing by with Ryan Schoenberg, finishing 6th.
I guess Kevin needs some rehearsing on the sponsors because I know he forgot that.
I forgot. Tim's Corner is another one. Sorry,
there
Tim.
we go.
You got him trained, Tim.
We're going to get
Well
you
done,
trained
Tim.
before the end of the season, right?
Yeah, I just need like a little poster, I guess.
We will make you a poster. I will make sure that one driver that does not need rehearsing of sponsors is Brian Schoenberg, driver number 55. And Brian, we have to talk to you about this battle for 5th, 6th on back. You and Carson McClellan put on a show behind Kevin King on that last lap. Walk us through it.
Hey, Tim. Wow. That was a heck of a battle there at the end. But that whole race for me was just a very interesting adventure that I will be more than glad to share with everyone on the forums and the fans and everyone as well. But yeah, it was one of those things where I was thinking about a top 5 finish and all that, but at the same time, I was more than thankful for, you know, how far I had come through the field and to get up there to around 7th or so. I didn't want to push it too hard, but Carson got a little bit wiggly there, and I saw a little bit of an opportunity, but I wasn't going to crash him. I learned my mistake from Chicago and last year with Hudson. I wasn't going to do that, but he left me just enough room that I was able to sneak under him and get a P6 there, but wow, that was just such a race, and honestly, this is probably the happiest I've ever been after a DWC race, ever.
And you talked about it, coming from the back of the field, pretty much the hard charger of the evening, coming from position number 32 to come up to the front. And we talked about it a couple of times when we had that green flag run. You and Carson Downs were really working well together to pick your way up into the top 10 and then knocking on the door of the top 5 at the end of that race.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a very interesting battle. I'll be honest with you, Tim, when we went for qualifying, I think a snail could have gone quicker than me. I mean, I was pretty mad after qualifying just because I never really had the top end speed that any of my teammates had in qualifying or anything, and I felt kind of concerned. But the second I got into warm up there, you know, for our race, I just knew everything was right. And I mean, I know you give me time to thank my sponsors and everyone, but if Tom Lewandowski is around anywhere, I could just give him a huge hug right now, because that car here at Las Vegas was absolutely amazing. It was just on rails the whole time, and you know, if we had track position, honestly, the times are so close and everyone is so good up front, I think I could have gone, you know, and maybe, well, challenge for the win. I don't know, that sounded a little cocky, but that setup definitely could have challenged up there. I mean, we just did everything right, and that car was just amazing. So, Tom, thank you so much.
It's a rebound week, unofficially 11th in points, but with 2 races into an 18-race series, it's really early to look at points. Let's look at Phoenix, though, in 2 weeks' time. Always an exciting race at Phoenix. What do you have for the boys there?
Hopefully something that's really good. The biggest thing I need to work on right now is qualifying, because we are not qualifying that well, but I know Kevin King alluded to it a few minutes ago that Phoenix is one of his best tracks, and I think it's one of mine too, because, I mean, my worst finish there, 3 starts in DWC, I think is like a 7th, so I think we'll definitely run good there, and I'll be running a white paint scheme there, but man, I'm just so pumped up, Tim, because, I mean, that was just a lot of fun to just kind of ride along there and just think, well, I don't know how this is going to work out, and then just to have it all work out right and just get a good finish like that, it just means the world to me, because I was so mad after Daytona. I spent all race just trying to plan for a good finish, and I didn't want to let my team down. We had a huge crash, and that was so disappointing, and it made me mad for a whole week. But now I'm just so glad we have an off week after this, and I'm just going to cherish it, because that was honestly a lot of fun.
And that comes up on April 2nd, as Brian mentioned. We do have an off week between this race and the next race, round number 3. Before we let you go, teammates, sponsors, anybody else that helps you get to the track each week and puts on the performance, who makes it happen for the 55?
First off, let's just thank the fans for watching. Everybody that posts on my Facebook, everybody that watches these races. I know Theo Olson, an old competitor, was watching today, and he was pretty impressed with the way everything looks, so give a shout out to him. I want to thank Mike Main, the Oboto Revolution 3, Matt Salo with Progi Consulting, JDR Graphics. JD owes me a new forum signature. I think maybe he'll work on it after he hears this, but thank you, JD. Am I leaving anyone out? MainPerformancePC.com as well. Well, thank you, Tim. I'll thank Tim's Corner too, might as well, since Kevin forgot it the first time, so we'll do that. And just thank all my teammates, Jason Loafing, Carson Downs, Danny Hinson, Michael Conti, let's see, who am I missing here? Just everybody on the drill aisle, Tom Lewandowski and just Josh Chin, just my guys, and that was just honestly a ton of fun. And just thank everyone, thank you guys, thank you for interviewing me. I know it's late, I know everyone wants to go to bed, but that was a heck of a show, and I hope everybody had a fun time because I did.
And that's Brian Schoenberg, driver number 55. Great sixth-place run here this evening. And final thoughts before we shut the lights off on this one, guys. As we mentioned, Tyler Hudson, unofficially your point leader. But look at this. Brandon Cattell, second in points. Matt Busa, third. Carson McClelland in fourth. And Adam Gilliland, after tonight, holds on to fifth place in the standings. Tony Stevens, it's been a great 2 races to start off this season. Then we head to Phoenix in 2 weeks' time.
Exactly, Tim, and I think we've seen tonight the potential that this race car brings. It can bring fantastic finishes, great racing, and as we heard a couple of drivers say, it keeps you on the edge of your seat no matter what. You have to wheel this car every lap, every corner. There is no riding in this series. It's all about racing and pushing this car to the max and holding on for all it's worth if you want to win. And it makes an incredible recipe for racing. We saw it last week at Daytona. We saw it tonight, especially at Las Vegas. And I think in 2 weeks, the Phoenix International Raceway, we're going to see the same thing. But kind of like some other drivers have kind of given us a hint about, it might be a little bit more about forward traction, which is going to introduce a whole new element into the race, and that's going to make it that much more exciting. Again, drivers are going to have to wheel these things, Joe Cortez. They are going to be so fun to watch, and again, the racing, exciting as it ever has been.
Oh, absolutely, Tony. I wholeheartedly agree with all of those statements. This is going to be the most exciting NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship we've ever had. This new Gen 6 car, it performs like a dream. It performs very hard for these guys out here, and it really is going to separate the cream of the crop in this series. The guys who are going to continue to be in this series are going to be in here because of talent. We saw that at Daytona. We saw that tonight. And in 2 weeks, when you go to Phoenix, I think we're going to be in for an even better show because these guys are going to be the best of the best, running the best equipment here on iRacing.
And that comes up in 2 weeks' time on April 2nd when we hit the racetrack at Phoenix International Raceway. Keep in mind, we go 1 week off, 1 week on until we hit September. And at the end of September, we go 3 straight weeks and then an off week and then the finale. More information on that, check out the schedule for yourself at wcs.iracing.com. That's wcs.iracing.com for all the information, not only on this series, but also the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series on the roadside, as well as they race for $10,000 this season to their champion. And, of course, join us on Twitter as well, hashtag iRacingWCS. It's been a fantastic night. Congratulations to Marcus Lindsay, first-time winner in the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. We'll write another chapter in 2 weeks' time. So for Zach Stanko, Ilka Hapola, Ian Bushing, Paul, Matt Racing Kid Thomas, Chuck Johnson, Joe Cortez, Tony Stevens. Nim Cross is not here this evening, but we want to say hello to him too. My name is Tim Terry, saying we'll see you in 2 weeks' time when we say let's go racing from the Phoenix International Raceway. Keep the hammer down, and we'll see you at the track.